Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Game Informer Show podcast. I'm Ben Hansen, joined by Dan Tack.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Andrew Reiner.
Why, hello.
Oh, we're here.
Yes.
We're back in Minneapolis. It's going to sound much better this episode. I'm sorry. It was a little bit uneven out in LA. We're streaming out of an apartment, ladies and gentlemen.
I liked your set.
Did you really?
Nice. It
was great.
Like a cozy house.
It's fun because we got an Airbnb and it looks nice in the pictures, but you don't realize the little details till you get there. Like little things. I could go over to the couch and it's covered in cat hair. And I'm allergic to cat hair. And it's like, well, that wouldn't have been in the description. Then you sit down on the couch and you just keep sinking. As you can see from like our round table where we had Twisted Pixel and Jason Rubin on, like half of Twisted Pixel is like enveloped in cushions. It's a very soft couch. Other than that, it was a lot of fun. Dan, how was it back home?
It's great to be back. Oh, wait, yeah. It was great here. You know how it is. It's very interesting covering it from both sides, having that experience of being on the home team and the away team, we keep busy. We keep busy here.
You grew a hat while we were gone.
I did.
Congratulations.
It's like a chia pet up there.
It's really amazing.
Yeah, it happened during the Microsoft press conference, I believe, is when the hat grew.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. What was the highlight of the home coverage of E3?
For me, personally, probably Sekiro.
Okay.
Or the PlayStation conference without the oddities of moving around. I mean, it was really cool. Like
that
just the long demos. Yeah.
I'm glad Leo socked it to him because the idea of prioritizing that press conference experience for the people in the room over the millions of streamers and people watching that after the fact, it is selfish and weird. And I don't know why they did that. Moved everybody out of that auditorium.
Yeah. So I was in the Last of Us barn.
Yeah.
The prom or whatever. And it was funny because like we're all standing there for like 15 minutes before the show started. But there'd just be a voice that would come out over the loudspeakers saying, "Step back from the pews." Because they had like church pews set up in the front. But we couldn't sit in them because it was just part of the set. But everybody's like, "We want to sit down." And it's like,
oh, God.
Step back from the pews. Like 15 times it was said.
I talked to Neil Druckmann briefly at E3, just like walking the show floor and stuff. And he said how cool it was for like the 3D modelers in Naughty Dog because they actually just took the renderings from the actual game. So like 3D modeler made like a chandelier or like a light fixture at the top of that barn in the game, but like, it was half a day's work or something. And then they get to LA and it's like, oh my gosh, that thing that I barely put any thought into is like a big real thing emitting real light. It's wild.
They're like, they shouldn't hang that up there.
Don't do it. It's not by code. Okay, we're talking about a lot of games on today's show. Dan Tack, Jurassic World Evolution.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it.
Came out last Friday. I'm very excited to talk about it. Realm Royale. It's in early access on PC.
Yes, it is.
And it came out before E3, and we didn't really get a chance to talk about it.
It's sort of just along that timeline. Like,
yeah.
Hey, it's out. Oh, go to E3.
Right.
And then it was on the PC gaming show stage there.
Okay, and it is a Battle Royale, but I think it's worth talking about.
It is a Battle Royale, and it is worth talking about because it is significantly different.
There we go. Let's dive in. And then Kyle's coming on to talk a little bit about Mario Tennis Aces. Then we're talking about Lego Incredibles as well.
Yeah.
Very exciting. Maybe a little review of Incredibles 2 in that mix. And then emails, I believe, big old Papa Andy Max coming on.
Whoa.
And then back half of the show, there's still stuff that we haven't covered from E3. You try and squeeze in as many editors as you can on that couch, but there's things that slip through the cracks that we didn't get a chance to talk about.
There's like 1,000 games there.
There really were. Like, I think maybe the biggest for me is Dying Light 2. I'm strangely excited about, and we didn't really talk about it. So we're going to get Jeff on to talk about that. JV and Reeves will be coming on as well to talk about some holes that we missed. Also, quick house cleaning. Joe reviewed Vampire. Finally slapped the review on there. Gave it a 6. Oof. Pokemon Quest. Brian Shea, if you're interested in that free-to-play thing, Brian Shea also gave that a 6.
What?
Unravel 2 came out the week of E3.
Yes.
Brian Shea's liking it a lot. And Ryan, you've been playing it as well?
Yeah, I'm playing it with my daughter, my 5-year-old daughter, and we're having a great time with it. It's beautiful. The platforming, lasso, swinging mechanics are vastly improved since the first game.
At this point, right?
Yeah, I mean, Insomniac might as well just cancel their game. But the co-op mechanic is pretty clever. There's some of the challenges require that you have the two Yarny characters working in tandem to do certain things. Like one will be holding a rope down, the other one's swinging on it. But a lot of times if it's too tough for my daughter, her character can like jump on my character's back and I can do the heavy lifting, like do all the platforming.
It's cute.
So it actually ends up working out pretty well. Or worst case, if you do get into one of those situations where you can't have, like your child just can't do it.
Yeah.
You could go to switch it to single player, and then I can just like lock the one character, the one Yarny in place, and then swing myself, and then resume control for her, and then we continue on. But yeah, it's beautiful. it's telling a really dark story kind of in the background with these ghostly specters.
Yeah, it opens with like a boat crash or something. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Yarny's rope gets cut.
Oh no.
Yeah, or his yarn.
Mazel tov.
But in the background, it almost looks like there's like a child that's running away from home in one sequence. And my daughter was asking me what's going on, and it's like, this better not be what I think it is. Because
You're free to run home.
Yeah, she's like running from an adult male at first, like hiding in a locked room, and he's trying to bust in, and I'm just like, this
doesn't sound very Yarny-ish.
So you regret playing it with your daughter at this point?
Yeah, I mean, it's
the
just
dark
like,
twisted
you
tale.
know, what do I tell her? Like, I don't know. But then it ended up kind of going to a point where it's like, she ran off with her boyfriend, and they're like up in an attic.
And your girlfriend knows all about that. I mean, sorry, your daughter knows all about that.
So, I hope it doesn't really go super dark places.
Yeah.
Because it seems like it's just, I mean, the characters alone seem like it's designed for all ages, right?
Right. Interesting. All right. Well, look forward to Branche's review whenever he gets to it.
But it's very fun. Like, if you like platformers, side-scrolling, kind of puzzle mechanics, it hits those notes very well.
That's exactly what it is. There we go. Dan Tack.
Hey.
Jurassic World Evolution.
That's
Frontier. Creators of Planet Coaster, all that stuff. A lot of theme park background. We talked about it a while ago on the show.
Did.
A very in-depth episode all about Jurassic World Evolution, but now we spend a lot of time with it.
That was our first chance to play, our first hour.
Yes, and now we've played more. I'm at about, maybe like 11 hours or so.
So which island is that? Is that
I'm in
4?
Peña.
The nighttime island?
Yes.
I'm in the one right before that, 3.
Okay, that's paradise compared to Peña. Peña in the ass, they should have called it.
You start in significant debt on that island, right? Like that's
no, the third one's the one you start
Okay.
a lot of debt in. And I don't know if it's a spoiler to talk about the settings for the different. I think like the parameters are kind of fun to uncover as you go along.
They are.
Especially the third one. Like I really like that setup for the third island. And
Let's not spoil it then.
Yeah,
I agree.
We can stay out of that.
But it's a good setup, and then it ends up being a cakewalk in a really fun way. Like that was really where I felt like I hit my stride and started to understand more of the parameters. But Dan Tack, you wrote the review. What did you think about this thing?
So it was sort of a mixed bag. So on the one hand, I did enjoy creating dinosaurs, altering their genetic code to make them more enticing to visitors, creating parks. Hey, so that stuff's all good. The problem is I didn't feel like there was that many options eventually. Like I'm still making a hotel. I'm still making the one food stand. Some other games seemed like they had way more options of things I could do.
Yeah.
I seemed kind of limited. I felt like I was doing the same thing on every island, just with different dinosaurs eventually. And then you get into the thing that really got me, the thing that frustrated me was sort of the mechanics, how I couldn't automate a lot of the systems. So it feels like I'm going from a menu to set a timer, to go outside, to set 9 to 12 timers, to go back into a menu to set another timer. And it just felt like I wasn't really engaging with the park so much as I was just juggling timers.
Well, if you're John Hammond, isn't that ultimately what you're doing when you're playing God is juggling timers?
But I timer on the egg and just sit back and wait.
and again, it wasn't, the game was not without substance or value to me.
Yeah.
I gave it a 7. So it's sort of in between. But like that aspect of it really got to be a huge pain in the ass, especially when I was dealing with bigger parks with lots of dinosaurs. Escapes happen. It's part of the game.
Oh boy,
they're going to get out. And then you've got to, all right, here, I want this order. I want to go set up like this many tranks. And then I want to set up 9 rangers to go refuel this one, cure this disease, clear that fence, cure that power outage, break that sabotage.
To a certain degree, isn't that just the sim genre in general?
It
just
is,
maintenance?
but it felt so overbearing that it was like all I was doing was maintenance at times. Like I'm just clicking on a thing and then going away and never really taking the time to get deeper into the game. It's just like I'm going from a timer to a timer to a timer. And it get on a big park, it feels more like on a small park, like the first island, I didn't feel that way at all. But as you get further into it and you get bigger, more complex structure with the monorails and all this other fun stuff, it's just like I felt like I was just looking at timers and not actually engaging with anything.
That's interesting. I wonder if it comes down to UI at all.
We brought this up originally, at least I did, like how I felt like it was just very menu intensive. And I still feel that way on release, but a lot of the stuff's out in the park now. So it just feels like I'm going from an expedition, okay, I'm going to set an expedition. Oh, my research is done. I got to do more research. Oh, now I got like 9 other little things to address in the park, and it's just back and forth. And again, yes, to some extent that is the simulation genre, right? But that's what I feel like I'm doing. Like the meat of my gameplay is just clicking on timers and not really engaging.
Yeah, I hear you on that. Like what I settled into was like nice loops though, of like, yes, I'm setting these timers, but by the time I'm done kind of doing my rounds, like my research is done, like the expedition comes back and And there's like this weird loot crate kind of quality to going to see what fossils you get.
Totally.
Sure, absolutely.
Where it's almost just like, oh man, I got a rare. You
You
like,
want to get the rare one that's worth like tons of money.
Yeah,
and
And even
Mosquito.
there's stuff that you can sell that aren't even fossils, where it's like you can make some big bucks.
Oh,
for that
yeah,
process.
definitely.
It worked out well.
That can save your park. That can be the life.
yeah,
and death.
petrified poop, and you're like good to go.
Yeah,
Make
yeah.
another raptor.
It's absolutely true.
so you're playing on PC mainly, right?
Absolutely, only on PC.
Only on PC. I'm playing on PC, but it's sacrilegious. I'm playing with a controller, and I'm amazed by how well it plays with a controller. And Reiner, what are you playing on?
Xbox.
Are you down with me? Like that
I love
UI
it.
could not be
Yeah,
better for the
yeah,
controller.
It's super slick, and like a lot of times you got to call a ranger to like fix a fence or go in and restock the food and all that stuff in the habitats, and that's just like mapped to like RB, and then like who are the
LB is the helicopter.
the helicopter. Like if a dinosaur gets out, you just hit LB. Target
Do they
it.
ever get out? No matter what you do, they're gonna get out.
It's hilarious how much they get out, especially like in those first couple islands where I was kind of, getting my sea legs before I understood like how to make these dinosaurs comfortable, kind of balance the grass, balance the forest, all
Yep.
that stuff, very important. But like, it's this ties into a larger theme with the game, but it really cracks me up. It's like the third mission in the game or something on that first island. They're like, they come over the intercom like, all right, go ahead and take a fence down. Let's test out what it's like when a dinosaur gets out. Like, there are people on this
and then
island.
later on, it's like, oh, you want a contract? Why don't you just have your dinosaurs kill each other?
Yeah.
What?
It's like people want them to fight.
All the characters are so stupid, and like even in the world of Jurassic World, these characters
They really are
This
unbelievable.
Cabot guy is just so over the top.
I went for a couple hours with nothing happening, like, all herbivores, everything's going well. But then I made what is its name? Ankylosaurus, whatever it is.
The Ankylosaur is the first time you will have big breakout
man,
problems.
They are
That guy,
finicky.
he
Yeah.
kept getting out. I'm just like,
'Cause at
how
the
do I
time-
delete him from my world?
Yeah.
When you get Ankylosaurs, all you have is like maybe electric fences or heavy walls. You don't have anything better than that.
Yeah.
And they will rip through them, man. They
And
just
they're
don't
not
care.
they don't really attract that many people either. I think they're awesome. It's like my favorite dinosaur, so I wanted them, but they just were a bulldozer for everything.
They are not worth it. They
Also,
are not worth it.
on that, I think it was the third or is the second island, I think, where it started to really ramp up with the carnivores. And I forget the big first carnivore. It starts with the C.
He's got the big horn on his nose, whatever.
Yeah.
Carniosaurus. It's not Carniosaurus.
Right,
but
right.
Like, it's just generic carnivore. Yeah.
This thing was such a son of a. Like, it just kept getting out of the fence again and again to the point that I had to just, because you can rename all the dinosaurs, which I recommend doing. It makes you so much more attached to them, like
way
XCOM
better than
soldiers.
Blue.
Exactly, yeah.
Way better than tranking STR-425.
Exactly. So I went in and just called this dumb thing Dickhole. And I was like searching through the menu to find a way to kill this thing. Because like it's just getting out and eating everybody over and over again. And it was a good evolution, no pun intended, of my arc with the game then. Where later on then, Dickhole got sick and was like almost dead. And I was gunning it in that ranger to go heal him. Because like I care about that guy. It got to me. I wanted to kill him, but now that I have to save his life, I'm fully in debt.
Yeah,
to
they
that
cost
weirdo.
$500,000 too. So you
Yeah,
wanna be
exactly.
careful with
Those
those.
assets.
I just got to stress how beautiful the dinosaurs
Yeah.
are too. Like the animations are incredible.
The dinosaurs are
Even like
great,
when you
for
trank
sure.
them and the helicopter comes in to pick them up, just like when they're limp, they look great. Like
100%.
It's amazing.
Little things like, when you're moving them from one cage to another, which you end up doing a lot, at least I do. I don't know how you guys
you
are
definitely,
playing.
depending on how you play, if you're playing smart, you're going to be moving them a lot.
Just like the little details, like I'm very excited that I just got my first T-Rex not too long ago. And watching the helicopter, first of all, him emerging and roaring, like goosebumps. So good. And it started raining just coincidentally as he was getting out of that cage. Game over. Great game. So then the helicopter picks him up, brings him to the new cage, and as it's slowly lowering him, and he's shifting the weight onto his own feet, like that transition alone, it looks so good.
Yeah. Too good. Like it doesn't need to look that good. It really doesn't. But it's if you like dinosaurs, man, there's a lot of them in the game.
Dinosaur porn.
That is cool. And there is a freeform sandboxy segment that you can unlock.
That's after you finish
4
the
stars.
5 deaths.
You don't actually have to finish the 5 deaths, as far as I know.
really?
You just
4
do
stars on one.
4 stars on the first island.
Yeah.
And then you go right to sandbox? Because I just want that sandbox.
I believe that is the unlock criteria.
You could do that super easy on the first island, especially when you get more research and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But then you can only, I believe, you can only use the stuff you've already got unlocked on that island. So you will want to play through all the 5 deaths.
Right. Okay. And did you have a good time? Because it's structured 5 deaths. If you don't know Jurassic Park lore, it's like the 5 islands are surrounding the main island from the first movie that you know. and I guess Jurassic World as well. And it's fun because like the third island, or maybe it's the second, at some point they call an island Site C, which like as a Jurassic Park nerd, it's like, oh, they never acknowledged a Site C before. This is very cool. And some of the
there are some really good Easter eggs in there for Jurassic Park fans as you get through, and I'm sure you'll catch them.
They're also completely on the nose. Let's see. So I opened up a gift shop, and you have the option of selling 3 items in the gift shop.
Yeah.
Okay, here's what you got, everybody. A plastic lunchbox, Barbasol, and night vision goggles. It's like just it's on the nose as you can get with Jurassic Park crap. Ryder, are you enjoying the game overall?
I am. I'm loving it, actually. I'm feeling what Dan Tack is the further I get into it. Like, whenever you start a new island, it's not like, hey, go have fun with a bunch of money. It's like, oh, crap, this place is falling apart, just like the movies, right? Like, you're like the cleanup crew. That's what it feels like. And it can be frustrating. Like, the nice thing in their design is that, let's say you start failing, and you have your other islands that you're still maintaining, but if you're failing on that one island, you could just go restart island.
Right.
And it sets it back to square one of disaster scenario, and you get another crack at it. I think that's cool.
You do. And like I said, the good moments I had in the game seem to be right at the beginning and then sort of at the tail end. Like, the meat in the middle with me, it just got bogged down by minutia, I guess, and some of those frustrating experiences I had with timers.
I totally hear it, especially when stuff's going wrong.
You have to keep those timers rolling at all times in order to advance. Like, to get the best dinosaurs, you got to keep that research.
I think
ticking in.
There's a nice the way they dole out dinosaurs is pretty good too. Like, you are always getting new ones on the new islands. When you send out your expedition team, they find different places to explore, and you'll see, like on the map, like, oh, I've never seen that dino, and you want to get, extract as much of that DNA as you can to be able to make it.
And I love the roller coaster ride of emotions when you start unlocking bigger and bigger dinosaurs, or more important dinosaurs, I guess you'd frame it as. Like, when you start to get the raptor DNA, it's like, I'm genuinely scared of like, oh my God, I don't know if I want to wrap my part.
They live up to it immediately.
They will get out, yeah.
I made a cage with the electric fence, and I was like, okay, this is the best I can do.
It's electric.
I put in 2 feeders, a live one and another one. I was like, okay, this will entertain them. And then I had the 2 hatching stations open. Yeah. So I put 2 raptors in there. They came out. One came out, went over to the pile of meat, had a meal, and then immediately ran himself, like smashed his face into the electric fence. And it said, there's a dinosaur in danger of death. And I was like, oh, he almost killed himself. But he got up off the ground, looked at the fence, which was now damaged, and went right through it. And I was like, oh, God. And he just bolted down a path.
And then just slaughters people.
Oh, yeah. And I was like, okay, I got to get rid of these raptors.
But that's the other thing I love about it, because like I had that thing too where I had raptors and they kept getting out and it was driving me insane. And it was before I understood the social dynamic, where that's something so cool, where like there's a range where raptors need at least a pack of 2, like that 2 to 6 range is their sweet spot. T-Rex wants to be alone. Other dinosaurs want to be alone. But just that idea of, yeah, of course, you Jurassic Park idiot. You can't put a raptor by himself. It's a pack animal, damn it.
And I haven't messed around yet of just throwing all sorts of crazy crap in one cage to see what mayhem happens.
That's what you do on the secret unlock island. That's where you just go crazy. You have limited funds there, so just like, if you want to put 7 T-Rexes in it, just have them battle royale T-Rex, you can do that.
That's so cool.
Fortnite T-Rex.
You can set that up.
Oh, it's so beautiful. Like, on the third island is where I made my first just over the top size huge cage just for brachiosauruses. It's so satisfying just to have these roaming hills, just put them out there, let them have fun. Even if the viewing station can only see like a fraction of it, I just love putting it in the dinosaur's favor, to the point of like, I'll have a cage for the Dilophosaurus and it'll be like, I'm just going to cover this entire thing in trees, just like the first movie. Exactly. No one can see it. I don't care. I want that dinosaur to be happy. I want it to have a good time.
That is it. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
What do you think about the mission structure overall? I know we were a little bit worried about it in the build-up.
It's for a simulation game, I think it has a satisfying structure. Yeah, for sure. I didn't like, rebuilding my park every island in the same fashion. That, again, it's like I said, there are good things, there are bad things. I'm sort of in the middle on this game.
The missions, man, they hit at the right time sometimes, where you complete one, you're like, oh my God, I needed that $300,000.
Totally.
Like, that saved my butt.
And it's just like this random thing between security and science and entertainment, and they'll just pop up and say like, hey, do you want to accept this mission? Do you want to accept this mission? And I think it works out really well.
You can actually game it. Like, you don't have to you can take them on your own volition. And that's what you should be doing if you're trying to min-max.
Yeah.
Like, just say whatever they show you, just be like, no, I don't want that one. And then go pick the one that you like.
again, they have a cooldown on that though.
There is a cooldown. It's pretty short.
It's a minute where you got to wait for new missions to populate. But still, it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And you use those to get new buildings and stuff, and you will piss off the other factions, and then they will sabotage you. But yeah, just send your ranger card in there.
Yeah.
So
And good news for fans, Jeff Goldblum's in it, and
he is, and he,
The writing,
his character's on point, right? Like,
on point.
No.
It's on point in a very ham-fisted way with
Yeah.
everything else, where he's just like, this. He literally goes, the Jurassic industrial complex. It's unknowable. It's so
I think
silly.
that's his character.
I understand that, but like, there's just been 30 people slaughtered from a raptor getting free, and he's just like, I told you it was a bad idea. It's like, yeah, of course.
The mysteries of life.
I know.
Right?
But they also have Owen Grady, everybody's favorite character from Jurassic World, in there with one of the worst Chris Pratt impersonators I've ever heard in
he's
my
not
life.
even
It's not
close.
good. It's not
Yeah.
good.
It's unbelievable. It's just like some guy from, like the janitor in the building at Universal that they got to try and impersonate Chris Pratt's nothing
You're
character.
about the same age.
Yeah.
That's as close as they got.
Good fit.
That's an odd one. Cabot Finch is always cracking himself up. He really
He
enjoys
does.
it.
That
He
guy
does.
needs to go away.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think
I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. I really
I'm
am.
really loving it.
I think there's enjoyment there for Jurassic Park fans, obviously. But again, it's like I said, I had a really mixed experience with it. So
I get it.
The thing I want to see is how they react to fan reaction, right? And because it's a game, they're adding on 8 more dinosaurs?
6
for the new movie, 6 to 8, something like that.
I think it's 6.
But they're adding those on soon. But what else are they going to add to the game? Like, could that mean like you're saying, there's not a lot of building options?
Yeah, I would
in
love
the
to see-
future, do they double down on that? Like,
See,
I'm excited to see where it goes.
I'm not trying to be super overly critical here. It just seems like that you always build the exact same things.
No, yeah.
right.
I hear you, yeah, and I think it's a good foundation. At least from talking to them, they seem interested in Frontier overall and like expanding on this foundation. Just little things drive me nuts, like the viewing stations. The fact that I can't look out of those,
Yeah.
I want to know what my guests are looking at. Like,
No, that's
I want to
fair.
know
I
what
like
my
that.
guests are thinking.
yeah,
You kind of just have to look at that initial radius and be like, there it is. All right.
yeah.
Okay.
Also, there's the obvious thing, and I think Spore went the same track with its expansions, but at least where I'm at now, there's no underwater dinosaurs, there's no flying
Right.
dinosaurs. Being able to create that cage for pterodactyls
And that would have been
awesome.
That would be great.
And one of their research things is like shark, right? And you're like, oh man, I'm going to make that big thing that was like at the SeaWorld exhibit in Jurassic
Yeah,
World.
I would
but-
love to have made one of those.
Yeah, but nope.
I'm
Nowhere to be
sure.
found.
I'm sure it's in the works.
DLC.
Yeah, there's going to be plenty of little things along the way, but room to grow. But
I hope so. I hope it
certainly
finds an audience and they can keep building onto it.
Reiner, I think it's the best Jurassic Park game ever made.
Wow.
I agree.
Yeah,
I think it's the truest to what those movies are and the books were, right? And then, you don't have 5 survivors left, and you got to fight for survival. That's
Right.
missing. But as far as building your own park, I think it's done very well.
and feeling the pride and worrying about things going down, like when the electricity goes out, and it's like, oh crap, what was on that grid? Like,
Yeah.
oh god, no, I got to get over there and
The
fix it.
thing I want to do is play with the sandbox, but
Totally.
to really Tech saying you got to kind of tolerate some of their bad mission design and scenario design to unlock all the stuff to really make that sandbox fun.
Yeah, for sure. Reviews on the site, Dantec.
It is.
7.0. Sweet.
7.0.
A game that's not reviewed. Realm Royale.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Now, I've been playing this game a lot.
Really?
With my PUBG, Fortnite, with my Battle Royale crew.
Yeah.
And they were initially very against it, obviously. They're like, of course, we're not playing this new crappy, not another one of these. And then, they took a look at it, and I think there are some interesting things about this game that make it attractive. Hi-Rez is so... they like to jump into genres. I call them sort of like the budget Blizzard, right? They take a genre and then they craft a new thing around it. And
So this is the team that made Smite, that made Paladins.
That's right.
Is Paladins good, by the way?
I haven't played much of Paladins.
It's coming to Switch. I'm curious about
I
it.
played it. God, it's beta a year ago.
Yeah, it's been
Maybe
out
more
there.
than that. And it was okay. It really wanted to kind of mimic Overwatch to a degree.
Right.
But the mechanics seem solid. It's just I had a better option,
And
that
now-
my clan was playing. So
Totally. And now Realm Royale wants to mimic
Realm Royale.
Fortnite, but I like
So-
it more than Fortnite at this point.
I might.
whoa,
Obviously, it's very early, and
Yeah.
these are just my very initial impressions off the first week of playing with my crew.
take.
But it's very interesting being a fantasy battle royale where you pick a class at the beginning, which does matter. Class-based weapons. An interesting mechanic for getting revived, where you turn into a chicken and you have to walk around and try not to get shot when you've been killed.
This is
All
huge,
right,
Reiner.
go on.
No, this is absolutely amazing. And the best part is it plays a little song so people can tell where you are. And the chicken just looks so stupid. The animation's great. So it's so great to have a potential for a revive when you're down in a battle royale, where it is hard to stay alive as a chicken because you have like 0 health. They take a couple shots at you, you're dead. But it is fun just to have that opportunity of like, if I can jump through that window, if I can run. I even saw, like, I was watching some streams too, and I was watching like this one person was a chicken, other player had a shotgun, and the chicken was just running around one tree, and the person couldn't get him. It was like a crazy kids cartoon where they're circling around the tree trying to shoot that chicken. They just couldn't hit it, and then they revived.
100 player?
I assume so.
Yeah, it is.
So when you have the number of players left, does that account for chickens?
Yeah, it accounts for chicken because the chicken is
Okay.
still alive, but
Gotcha.
you get 3 potential chickens, so you can't really abuse it.
So you can count
Three
these chickens
chickens.
before they hatch.
But you're likely to die in your one chicken. But it's really cool, like you said, if you get a great window jump, a tower dive, if one of your teammates can come, they can't like resurrect you like in other games. You know, like they don't hold a button to get you back up. You just have to wait the chicken timer out.
For sure.
And along those lines, other interesting aspects that the game has beyond the chicken and the classes. So it's got these things called forges in every area, and these are basically the battle hubs because you want to get that forge, and then you have to sit there and craft an item. It takes 60 seconds to craft legendary armor or your class weapon. So you don't have to sit there like actually pounding on the key, but it like starts a timer, and other players can see the forge is firing, and they're gonna be like, "Well, I'm gonna go kill that guy to take all the stuff that he's crafting."
Yeah.
So these become like incentivized combat locations, so you don't have to like worry about everybody just wandering aimlessly around the world. They're all like, you're looking for an opportunity for you and your team to take over a forge so you can make your stuff and move into the map.
Including gear. I mean, you're picking up gear like Diablo style.
You are wielding
color-coded
armor and weapons color-coded in this game. Yeah, absolutely. And there's no like, you don't have to worry about picking up ammo. There's no ammo. Just if you've got the gun, it reloads indefinitely. Right?
It's smart.
You're good to go.
It's interesting thinking about the comparisons. What was that Cliffy B game? Help me out. Radical Heights.
Radical Heights. Oh,
Where like,
rest
you know,
in
having
peace.
items on the map, a little bit like Radical Heights.
Yeah.
Also, it does the smart thing that Radical Heights also did, which is no parachute, no glider. Like you're just going
fall.
right from the plane, landing, just get on with it.
Right. And above all this, it's got class-based, not only the class-based weapons that you're making at the forge, but you've got class-based skills. Which is very interesting. Other battle royals don't have that. So like if you're the engineer, you got a turret you can throw down, you got a wall you can throw down, a healing turret, you got all kinds of different options. Fireballs for the mage, ice blocks, you know, all kinds of weird stuff.
How's it
Class-based
doing?
Mechanics.
How's this game doing?
Surprisingly well. I think it's gotten a really good reception from that same crowd who's always like, yeah, we got our PUBG group, we're playing PUBG tonight, but why don't we go check this one out while we wait for that new map to come out? And it's like,
And it's surprisingly solid.
yeah, it definitely, like, it's very rough around the edges right now.
Oh, yeah?
But I think so, yeah.
I haven't
Like,
seen too much of that, I guess.
it's not even any monetization there yet. You can't even buy anything.
That sounds great.
But that battle pass button is enticing me. So I'm pretty sure they're gonna take the Fortnite model with that, right? Which would be great because it works.
It's the exact same name.
It is the exact same name.
It's a good idea. Let's
I'm
take
really
it.
interested to see where it goes. I'm surprised at how like they, you know, it's not just like, all right, let's make a battle royale, put some guns, put some crap in here, and everybody kills each other. It's got some flavor and style all of its own, and I'm really enjoying it. And so is the crowd I play battle royales with.
Yeah, for sure. Check it out. Free to play just on PC right now.
That's right.
There we go. And no annoying free to play stuff that we've seen so far.
There's no, as far as I can tell, you can't buy anything right now.
Sounds wonderful. Check it out, everybody. Dan Tack, I love you, but would you mind clapping out of here? Bye, Dan Tack. Welcome. Kyle Hilliard.
Hey,
Wow.
How you feeling, Kyle?
like 80%, 85, 90. Yeah, I got sick during E3, which is my first getting sick during E3. I've dodged it, but this year,
Usually
people
people
got
get
me.
sick on the flight back.
No, I got sick there. I think it's Serial's fault because he was.
Really?
I
What
think
kind of
so.
cereal did you eat?
Nah,
The kind that I work with, that I hung out with a bunch.
No,
don't eat
go there.
that, man. You seem sick. Yesterday, you seemed very sick, and I was very worried I was going to get sick. And Reiner, are you the one hacking up a lung from across the office all day?
Nope.
Someone is coughing constantly on that side of the office. Point a finger. Tell them to go home, whoever
it
this
was
is.
Reiner. We got work to do, man. We got to get a magazine out.
All right, I guess
Nah,
so.
I think I had like some yogurt with some crap in it, and it got in my throat.
For 8 hours?
yeah,
Every-
you ever
every
get that
day?
where you eat popcorn and like gets stuck in your throat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
it was
when
like
you're
that.
sick.
Yeah,
I'm
you know,
not
like when
sick.
you're sick and contaminating your coworkers.
I am
Thing.
108%.
All right.
I finished all my writing. It feels
Oh,
great.
he took my
Congratulations.
8%. That's where that went. Okay.
Kyle, tomorrow, Friday, Mario Tennis Aces comes out.
Yeah.
You don't have a review score yet, but you've been playing it a little bit.
Yeah.
What do you
I'm
think of
like
this thing?
halfway through? It's good. It's a lot better than the Wii U one and mostly because there's like a campaign.
Yeah.
And it's fun. Like it's actually more like mini games kind of has a negative connotation, but it's more mini games than it is just like straight playing AI. Like you'll do like 2 matches where you have to do something kind of interesting, like hit all these nets in a certain amount of time, or like, knock balls into piranha plants and stuff like that. And then you play a match against an AI, and then you do like 2 more things, and there's a little bit of a story, which is kind of silly. I'm enjoying it. It's fun.
It seems meatier than the Wii U version was just like bare bones, and that's the big thing. Is like this is a $60 game, and I worry about. I enjoyed those previous games, but if I buy this, is it just going to be a fine little time? Is there enough there to really dive into?
I think there is, just because the campaign is substantial. Like there's a lot to do on your own, and it's fun. And the mechanic of like building up power to activate this, basically you go like first person kind of, and then you can fire a ball. You can either try to hit somebody and break their racket, or what I do is I just try to like aim for the corner of the court and just get like an easy point. And it's cool. I'm enjoying it.
All right. Check it out.
Way better than the Wii U version by a long shot.
Great. Look forward to the review on the site. Also, Lego Incredibles came out on Friday, same day as Jurassic World Evolution.
Yes.
It's really my 2 favorite things, launching on the same day, weird franchises.
Yeah.
Kyle, have you had a chance to check out Lego Incredibles at all?
I did. Yeah.
Okay.
I played last night.
And Reiner, you've been playing it as well?
Yes, I played this morning.
Okay, great. Yeah, I've only played maybe like 2 hours of it or something.
You're ahead of me.
Okay, the weird thing is...
I beat the Underminer.
Okay.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
Well, because the weird thing is it starts out, and I assumed it was just going to be walking through the first movie and then walking through the second movie.
Well,
but
especially because
it
it shows the robot from the first movie in the credits.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and by the way, the UI and like the presentation for this game, I think is very good.
So much red.
So much
red.
red. Yeah, more red than the Cyberpunk demo, which is hard to pull off in general. But so it starts out with the opening of Lego Incredibles 2, and then you go to their house, and then it actually opens up in a weird way into like a small open world, which I didn't expect. I thought it was just going to be a more classic TT game style where you're just going through the events of the film. But
Like around their home?
yeah,
the
well,
home that
no,
they have in the
beyond
film?
that. And then all of, as we know, Municeburg is the name of the Incredible City. Yeah, so it feels like a smaller version of like Lego City Undercover or something, that style of town.
Yeah.
And there's like different odd jobs and quests around there you can do. And then eventually you'll unlock the ability to go to the next story beat from Lego Incredibles, or from the Incredibles 2.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a fleshed out, fuller version of telling those events. But I don't know if at some point then they're going to jump back to the first movie.
They have to, right?
I don't know
Do they?
how.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I thought
maybe
it was
not.
both movies.
I mean, that's what I thought too, but now I'm like second guessing all that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe
Maybe
they
there'll
can
be
find...
flashbacks or something.
Oh, maybe.
It could be.
Can you play as Jack? Can you unlock him?
That's a great
You
question.
have to.
Yeah.
He has
Because
to be there.
if you can't, like my daughter's out, like she's done.
She's a huge Jack fan?
Yeah, like I mostly just watched her play, and she was like, I want to unlock the baby. And I'm like, well, I think that's going to happen. But like, seriously, if that's not in the game, like she's not going to play anymore.
I would think, although, not to spoil anything about Incredibles 2, but like his powers are so all over the place, that'd be a tough thing. But
Yeah.
I can't imagine that they wouldn't have that in there at some
That'd be
point.
something, right?
The unlockables are really crazy when you start to look through it, because it has not just Incredibles characters, it has basically everybody you could ever hope for, but then they also expand into larger Pixar.
Oh,
So you
really?
could unlock like Woody and Sully.
The lamp?
Yeah, you can
they kinda have to.
you can walk around as Luxo. Yeah.
Oh, that's
They
cool.
had to do that though. Like,
Did they? I think it's pretty crazy.
well, I mean, if they created a bunch of fictional superheroes, maybe the rosters in the Lego games are like 70 to 100, and that's on the light end, right?
Yeah.
So
You have a lot of pedestrians. If like,
yeah, I remember when they did like Lego Indiana Jones. They didn't have that deep of a well, so you're playing it's just like random Nazi guys, which was super weird and wrong.
Yeah. Random Nazi number 4.
It's just like, what are you
Yeah.
doing?
You can only pull so many, like from the new film, would be like hideous looking news anchor model. Like
Yeah.
you run out of them pretty quick, but it's pretty crazy. So they go throughout all of Pixar pulling. You can play as like Flick. You can play as Lightning McQueen in Lego
Really?
Oh
form.
wow!
Yeah.
Don't spoil too much of it.
Oh, okay.
I'm
I
excited.
guess if it's
yeah.
exciting.
Well, by the way, we should point out Reiner hasn't seen the film, so this is
Oh,
actually
interesting.
Well,
his
listen.
experiences playing.
As
the
I've
game.
learned with licensed video games, the best way to experience a movie is to play the longer, unabridged game first.
Don't do that.
Because you get more of the content, and then the film's like a highlight reel.
Oh yeah, and then you get bad impressions of the actors playing.
Oh
the
my gosh.
characters.
God.
Yeah, the Bob in this game,
not great.
like the Mr. Incredible, is super rough.
His character model is weird looking too.
Yeah,
They're all kind of
Too
gross.
much chest.
Even like Elastigirl, when she's like stretching as a Lego, it's like, oh, what is happening
doesn't
here?
feel right. Yeah.
Yeah, but they got some of the voice actors back. They have like Bob Odenkirk in there.
Okay.
They have Violet's voice actress in there.
I was actually going to say that those two were pretty good impressions, so I guess that's That's why.
Yeah, and the Holly Hunter for Elastigirl is not bad. It's got a little bit of that lish.
I think Bob was the one that just stood out to me as being like, this sounds weird.
It feels like Dan Castellaneta doing the genie, from like the second Aladdin movie. It's a little unnerving and gross not to have that distinct voice.
I would love to hear those discussions where it's like they talk to his agent, like, we just need him for an afternoon. And for these big actors to be like, oh, hell no.
Right.
What I mean, like,
for that.
2 hours to reprise your role.
I saw somebody from Pixar tweet out recently, Tasha, who we talked about on the show before, but she said that apparently it's like in their contract that those actors have the first right of refusal for all of these tie-ins, like Kingdom Hearts and all this stuff. So they get the option, and then when they say no, then it's like, okay, now let's find some other people.
Yeah.
Why would you ever say no?
I don't know.
I would like to see that agent meeting with like Holly Hunter trying to explain like what Kingdom Hearts is,
right? And what she would say when they offer it.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. I don't think so. But they did get Paul Eiding, friend of the show, Colonel Campbell himself. He's in the game and the movie as Reflux, the old guy.
Oh, really?
That's Colonel Campbell.
That's a cool character.
Isn't that fun? Reiner, you have no idea.
He's fun. You'll like him.
Also, like in the house, they have RC from Toy Story sitting in the corner, and I don't know if that's like a nod to the fact that I'm sure they're doing Lego Toy Story next year with Toy Story 4.
Oh, they have to.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That's why they pushed the film back a year, I think. Make room for that Lego game.
Don't mention John Lasseter. Fun stuff overall, but you can also go to like Edna's house and create your own hero, which is kind of fun, and like choose the powers, and it's fun then to like get a flying character and then fly around Municeburg, interacting with different Incredibles characters.
Outside of the license, though, and I guess what you're saying about it going a little bit more open world, like immediately when you're playing the game, you see like a silver object you can't interact with yet. It's just like, okay, this is the same Lego experience.
It's Lego 101.
It's actually been
forever.
a little, even just playing for like an hour, it's been a little bit of like, oh yeah, I don't really like these games that much. Like,
I enjoy them, but it's just like, wow, you haven't found a variation for silver. Like, you got to use an explosive on this.
And also, it doesn't help that I ran into a bug where like we had to pull a lever and it wouldn't activate. I like looked up a walkthrough and saw that the lever was getting pulled. Like it was just like a very simple puzzle that we couldn't solve because the game was broken and we had to restart. And like that just makes it all the more frustrating, especially when you're playing with a child who is
doesn't
like
understand that.
Like, and I'm trying to figure out the puzzle too, and she's trying to figure it out, and then I look it up and we know the solution, and we still can't do it. So.
It's definitely the classic Lego thing, and I especially regretted it when I had an E3 appointment to see Lego DC Supervillains, and I just realized like, spending half an hour at E3 playing a Lego game, like I know how these puzzles are gonna go, and like there are aspects of that game that are kind of interesting. Like you can play as the Joker and you can like recruit henchmen and stuff, but still overall it's still Lego puzzles. Everybody.
Yeah. I admire the series, I really do, but
they're fun.
I do get frustrated with them generally.
Yeah.
So
without spoiling anything for Reiner, what'd you think of the movie?
I liked it. You and I haven't talked about this much
Not
yet.
once.
I saw your tweet, which it does not unseat the original film.
God, it doesn't enter the theater.
I didn't expect it to, but I still really enjoyed it. Like I had a good time with it, and I think something you said that I agree with is that it doesn't diminish the original film at all, which I think is important.
Well, the original is one of the best movies ever made in my mind. Yeah,
no, it's in my top 5. I think,
and this is it's a fine, solid.
I don't know. It's surprising, right?
Yeah, it's a fine, solid movie, but I just feel like it doesn't do anything. It reminds me a little bit of the dumb complaints about Solo, where it's like it doesn't need to exist. Where it's like with this one, I really was racking my brain, leaning back and thinking like, what character from the family evolved or changed at the course of that film? Like which characters were really challenged other than we've got to beat this big bad?
Yeah.
And it's like Violet has a lot of screen time, and she had, I think, my favorite sections of that.
Probably Violet, yeah.
But even that, like, she reached the end of her arc, I feel like, at the end of that first movie, and now this is just like a tiny wrinkle at the end of that, which is an interesting wrinkle, but...
At the end of the first movie, though, with Jack, you're like, okay, that's a good joke to end on, but it's like, I wanted to see where that went. So I was excited for a sequel.
I was scared it was going to be just like played for gags, and I do think it's more than that.
Well, there is like an extended gag sequence with Jack, which is funny, but it's very...
But it is more than that. Like, you know what I mean? And especially like with, another character I was worried about was Edna. Like, that they would just bring her back, and it'd be like, oh, she was fun. She's fun again. I do feel like she was important, and actually even had a little bit of growth. Like just a tiny little bit.
Okay, if that's what we're counting as growth. I mean, this is microscopic.
Enough that I was happy that it wasn't just like, oh, let's go hear this silly character make more jokes. Like she actually served a role and changed slightly over the course of her screen time, which I appreciated because they didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
So
also on the Lego front, she is voiced by Brad Bird in the Lego game. And of course, when
really?
you make your own hero and you put a cape on it, you'll never guess what she says.
Please don't use a cape.
I don't think so.
But yeah, I'm curious what you think. But like, I'm positive on the film. I liked it. I enjoyed it. It's not
10 out of 10. Kyle Hilliard.
No, probably like a 8. You know,
Outside of Toy Story, I think it's the best Pixar sequel so far. But still, it's a crazy drop off from the first Incredibles. Like, I barely felt the urge to cry at all during Incredibles 2, and that's all I want. Like, I watched that first Incredibles, I'll just be a heap of tears for 2 hours.
I tear up during the airplane sequence in
Constantly.
Incredibles every single time, and I've seen that movie probably like 30 times.
100%.
What?
Do you not have a heart?
You don't cry watching The Incredibles?
No.
Oh my God. Well, then you'll love Incredibles 2 because it's really made for you.
I can't wait.
We do get a lot of Elastigirl knowing exactly what to do, which is like my favorite thing. Like you know, like that airplane sequence in Incredibles. Yeah. The thing I love about that so much is like she does everything that she can and she knows exactly what to do, and it still kind of fails. And I feel like we get a lot of that in the second film, is just like her being successful, knowing what to do. You know, like her action sequences, like running through the city. Like she doesn't stumble. There's no questioning herself. She just always knows exactly what to do. And I love watching Elastigirl do that.
Although in the first movie, I guess there's a pivotal scene where she doesn't know what to do and she's crying into a Kleenex, and then Edna slaps her. But
when it heats up, like when it's time to like step up, like she steps the F up.
Absolutely. And the action we should definitely put on in that second movie.
Good.
It's very, very good. Just the idea of like she has this bike, Elastigirl does, that can separate to the front and back. So she like spreads her body out and then kind of like rubber bands herself to like make jumps like it's a trials game. There's a fight scene that's gonna cause a lot of seizures, just epilepsy, crazy, like flashing lights, but it's so cool looking.
Void is a very cool power that's used very well. That's very
gun.
familiar.
Yeah.
So basically the takeaway I'm hearing from you guys, if you're not looking to go to the theater to bawl your eyes out, you're going to enjoy Incredibles.
Brad Bird called it a big popcorn summer movie.
Thankfully,
and that's true.
Thankfully, the short before the film will inspire maybe a couple tears.
I didn't get that.
You didn't get that?
Was it a dumpling or not? Very silly.
Ryan, you'll know what we're talking about someday.
Also, the other thing I like about Incredibles 2 is like it ties into the 60s aesthetic much more. Where in the first one, it was like, you know, architecture-wise, art design-wise, it was very inspired by the 60s. But in this new one, like, they're watching Johnny Quest on TV, and like it feels much more time-stamped in that era. Yeah, for sure.
That's cool.
You should see it, Reiner.
Yeah, I definitely recommend.
My daughter was
it.
like, "No." I was like,
I'll try to get mine to call yours and convince her.
She said she did say I will go to a movie with her.
I'll go see it
or
again.
my cousin, but not me.
All right,
She was punishing me.
So I'll take your daughter to go see Incredibles?
That sounds wonderful.
I guess so.
Do you guys want to take this podcast to go to emails?
Sure. I'm going to leave, though, I think.
That sounds great. Okay, emails.
Bye.
And welcome back to the Game Informer Show. I'm still here, still joined by Andrew Reiner.
Hello.
Now and forever. Jeff Cork.
Hello.
And Andy McNamara.
Hello.
Welcome. Honor to have you all. We have a lot of emails, a lot to catch up on. People were sending in emails throughout E3, but we didn't read any on the show throughout that week because we're a little bit busy. So we got a big backlog here, folks.
Okay. One word responses.
Yes, no, no, yes, no, yes, maybe, yes.
And the email of the week goes to Jordan from Tennessee. No.
That's God's country.
That's right. So how this works, we're going to read through all these. You can send in your email to podcast@gameformer.com. Feedback, news stories you want us to cover, questions about the industry, questions about games, questions about anything, comments, dares. Yes, Jeff Cork.
Would you like people to send emails for things to make the show better?
That's right, to podcast@gameformer.com. Then we're going to choose our absolute favorite and then put that person's location up on the big board behind us, the gigantic board behind us.
It's not gigantic.
Come on, Andy.
It's really
please.
intimidating. I hope it
Theater
doesn't
of the
fall on
mind.
us.
It's really not gigantic.
I feel that map is changing the emails we get. Like you are actively looking at location before substance.
No, I promise I'm not. I'm keeping it fair and straight. But
So what
Shane,
if we get a second in the same location?
That's a good question. I guess they're just double
Different
God's
colored
country.
pin. Yeah, you need different colored pins for numbers.
Ooh, yeah, like layers. You're totally
Exactly.
right. Let's see if it happens. But
Yeah.
Shane wrote in and he says, as is tradition, here are some facts about Portsmouth, New Hampshire, which was the most recent addition to the board. Fact number 1. Portsmouth is pronounced Portsmouth, not
I was
Portsmouth.
just going to say to you that I don't think they emphasize the mouth part as much.
Fact 2. Portsmouth is one of New England's most prominent food destination cities. Here's a fun fact. There are more seats in Portsmouth restaurants than there are actual residents of the city.
That is fun.
Isn't that fun? Who counts that? Fact number 3. Ronnie James Dio, rock and roll legend, inventor of the metal horns gesture, was born in Portsmouth. Residents recently attempted a crowdfunding campaign to commission a statue in his honor.
I always assumed he was super European for some reason.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's like George R. R. Martin. I was like, oh, no. Just from the East Coast. They're all having a good time.
Huh.
Can we talk about map pin colors again?
Oh, yeah.
That was a good talker.
No, I don't think any of this has been good talk.
All right. Looking forward to this full email section here. Here we go. Cut the next 3 emails. Jay Krug writes in. Here we go. He says, hey, GI, Jay from Cary, North Carolina, not God's country. We'll determine that, Jay. He says, with E3 done, I got to thinking, specifically to Reiner and Andy, would you ever consider putting a historical look at E3 into the magazine? You guys have been to all of them, and I'd love to see a summation of every E3 with the highs and lows relating to the game, systems, gimmicks, weird one-offs. I think it'd be super interesting for readers to gain that historical context. The full rundown.
I mean, yeah, I think it's an interesting idea. I mean, I'll tell you, part of the problem is I literally cannot remember what I did last Monday night. Like, once E3 starts going, it does get a little blurry.
Yeah.
It's madness. At least I feel like I mean, there are long days, short naps, and then you're back at it again. But I mean, I think a lot of people do and go through and talk about some of the highlights, from time to time from press conferences like that. I always find it fascinating. I agree completely. I just don't know if we'd be able to give like a great true history of E3.
Yeah, you could just read the Divine Comedy, and every time it mentions hell, just put E3.
Is that right? Is
and
that how
that's
it works?
pretty much it.
Okay.
Yeah.
We do have somewhere in a box in the office a bunch of pictures from the first E3, which I think that'd be
wow.
fun. Just like, isn't there a fun like feature to be had in like the first E3 ever and time it for the next year's E3?
Yeah,
I remember
95, right?
Okay.
I mean, it's a long time ago.
And you guys have been to every one?
Yep.
Yep, that's what they tell me. That's what they tell me. Yeah.
amazing. Cameron from Clinton, Utah writes in. He says, hey, I was watching you guys talk about Wolfenstein Youngblood and talking about whether or not it was a new game or just an expansion. And he points out that, hey, it's clearly an expansion because it's a reference to the Old Blood, which was that first standalone expansion.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very frustrated we didn't think of that. But yeah, Youngblood, Old Blood, of course, that's the structure.
Was
of that
JB
thing.
on that episode?
He
I'm
was.
guessing. And he didn't catch that?
He did not catch it. Wolfenstein expert JB Gwaltney, get the hell out of here.
Yeah, no longer an expert.
Disgusting. Damien from Louisville, he says, hey, one of my favorite modes in all of games was the commentary mode in the Orange Box. It gave me insight into the choices the developers made in some of my favorite games through essentially a virtual tour. Why don't more companies do modes like this?
I think it's great. I mean, I think they're great. There's another game that did that kind of recently. Why am I spacing on what game?
I know that
There's
Double
another-
Fine with like the Grim Fandango remaster,
Yeah.
they had an awesome commentary mode
Rogue
in there.
Squadron had it.
Did it really?
Yeah, back in the day, or it might have been Rogue Leader, one of those Rogue titles. But
Yeah.
back in the day, it was a little trickier, right? But now, when you can update your game, the developers are done with the product. They could go play through it, do a commentary track, upload that as. I'd pay $1 for that, or $2.
I think they added it to Gone Home not too long ago.
Yeah, see,
Yeah.
that's exactly what they should do.
Because it'd be weird if it shipped with that, because you want to have the benefit of hindsight to be like, fans really like this, or, we really agonized over this decision as it turned out. It was a mistake.
And wouldn't it be great if it was like adapting the structure too, where it's like, clearly this section of the game was too long, here we go. And then it just like snaps the hallway closed or something.
And I think hitting later than release too, like if it's like 3 to 4 months after release, that would make me go back into that game again.
Yeah.
If I really liked it.
Yeah,
like God of
for
War,
sure.
if they did one for that, I'd play through that game again.
Just those YouTube videos they released, I think, are great. They released 3 where it's Corey kind of walking through some key moments from that game. And
do that
they're
stuff.
really
Yeah,
good.
I think part of it is too. I don't think they do them as much anymore, just because people work on their game all the way up, like the patch till like 3 or 4 days before the game comes out. And so it's kind of like, what's the first thing you're going to pull up your list of things to do? It's going to be the like developer commentary, right? It's going to kind of the bonuses we used to get are not going to happen, I think, as frequently. But
Yeah.
I think they also do it as different content. You know what I mean? Like I see like the PlayStation blog puts up some things like that where they really try to do things like that, but they're not as in depth, which
Right.
I agree was the nice thing about the Orange Box.
Yeah, for sure. Greg from Ohio writes in. He says, hey, I was watching Giant Bomb at night, and I was extremely happy that Jeff Grossman had Andy McNamara on the live stream.
I was there.
These are 2 titans in the video game journalism business. Titans, Andy. As I was watching them reminisce on their shared history, Danica from Waypoint chimed in with the best idea I've heard in a long time. She said that they should write a book together. And then he has a million ideas about how this book should be structured. But any chance, maybe not Jeff Gerstmann related, but any chance you'd ever write a book about your career?
I think if I was going to write a book, I'd want to write one people would read.
What, some fiction crap? Come on. No offense, Renner. I love your fiction.
I have been writing stuff about my career.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I got a bunch of, not chapters yet, but a bunch of things.
Like
Yeah.
notes?
More than notes.
Do you want to do
some
like an
finished
autobiography at some point? Or
like Andy's saying, it's not very interesting, but it is kind of a chronicle of, when I start to lose my mind, I'll know. I could read that and be like, oh, that's who I am.
Hi, Reiner.
Yeah, I do have stuff like that.
Andy, I know you're a humble guy, but you have an interesting career, and it's very unique, and I think people would like to read that book.
Yeah, I feel like I've talked about it on this podcast and other places. I mean, I appreciate that a lot. I mean, I think, if you talk about any like great stories I have, a lot of them probably shouldn't be told.
Go on.
Give us one of those.
No, I don't think I'm going to do that. I mean, I think that's just kind of the way things go, just as it's gone on forever. So,
what about like a Mark Twain style, where it's like, release this 100 years after my death? All right, here's the dirty details on Sony in 2002.
You can entrust that with us.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Very much so. Yeah. I don't know. I guess it's someday the gaming world will spit me out, and I'll probably have to write something. I don't know if it'll be a book.
You'll be
We'll
forced
see.
to. Stephen Dorsey writes in and says, "Hey, I'm most excited about Fallout 76 for several reasons. The biggest one is that I'm from Huntington, West Virginia, and seeing a game that features the entirety of my home state legitimately made me emotional. First time I saw a screenshot of a team of players running into Camden Park, which is a crappy rundown theme park that I grew up 2 miles down the road from. It made me tear up a little. All in all, I'm excited to see my home state represented in a positive way, even if it is a game about a nuclear apocalypse. P.S. If anyone on the podcast or video coverage calls it Western Virginia, I'm unsubscribing and rating
Western Virginia?
and rating y'all 1 star. I've heard too many idiot YouTube personalities say Western Virginia, and it makes me want to scream, like it's been a state since 1863. We were on the right side of the Civil War, damn it, he says. That's good. Now here's the flip side of that.
I like that we are doing a lot of teaching moments in this email now.
It's all about that damn map.
It's all about the map. Yes.
This
yes.
is destroying the
yes,
show.
Yes,
How dare
exactly.
you? Nick from Atlanta says, "Hey, is it me or is Fallout 76 a multiplayer mod of Fallout 4? It kind of feels like a cheap cash grab to me. Did anyone here get to play it? Is there anything that distinguishes it from Fallout 4 aside from multiplayer? Thanks for your coverage of E3. It was my favorite."
Notoriously easy to implement multiplayer. So just another cash grab.
Takes 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if it started out in Fallout 4.
It did. They said it did, yeah. As like the multiplayer testing for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're going to share some assets and some, the engine and all those things are going to make it look like the other game. But I mean, I think they're trying to make it be its own individual thing. I mean, the problem is for everything he said. I mean, I could look. We actually talked about this numerous times. Like as we ran around E3, was that without the parameters of how it really works, like, is it 4 of us? Is it 4v4? Is it 50-1? Like what the parameters are and what you're doing as a player, like specifically, it's really open. Like this game could be a lot of different things. I mean, I have a billion questions as to like what it really is. I mean, we know that it's a online game, but you can play it single player. Right? What does that mean?
Yeah.
And so I think it just, I don't know. I think there's just too many things to figure out, like what it's about. Because I mean, is it 15 minutes? Is it like 8 hours? Do you know what I mean? Like how long does it take for like one of these nuclear launch codes to go off?
Yeah.
Who does that?
It is a cool idea. So there's like nukes on the map and you can trigger them with friends, then nuke each other. And yeah.
Yeah. Or is it like, you can play it single player because like each one is an instance with like 50 players that go in and just make their own mess, right? You kind of make your own fights, you make your own, allegiances, and
then you apply like the stats you throw out. Like it's 4 times larger than Fallout 4, and you're just like, this map's gargantuan.
Gargantuan,
Like,
yeah. Like
so how many players are in that?
They did say they wanted it to be really barren. I forget if they said an exact number, but they said it's not an MMO. Like you'll be wandering for a long time. It's gonna be like a rare, weird treat when you meet somebody else.
Yeah, that's what I mean. This game could be so many different things, right? I really leaves me with a lot of questions.
Yeah.
I think that's good though. Like I've spent hundreds of hours in the Fallout games. For them to shake it up, like I applaud that. Like give me a different type of Fallout experience.
Even if it plays.
They're
like
not
Fallout
saying
4.
it's Fallout 5. It's built on that framework, sure, but shake it up. Let me see what else you can do in that universe.
I mean, I feel like that's the reason they kind of announced Elder Scrolls 6 Was that so that
Yeah,
because
don't worry.
don't worry was that they were like, hey, we're doing an Elder Scrolls mobile game, we're doing a Fallout multiplayer game, that they had to say, and just so you know, we're doing what you love us for, right? At the same time. In fact, we're doing 2 of them, right? And they're
Leave us
all
alone.
Yeah, they're a long way away, but they, I think we're fairly clear that they wanted to try to do these things. And they could be fun to watch. They could be fun to play. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I thought that was pretty smart of them to announce those games because, like when Anthem was announced, immediately people just started asking if all the stuff from Mass Effect's in the game. It's super frustrating. It's just like people can't let go of a developer's past.
Yeah.
Like they need to know exactly what that is. Can I have sex in that game? It's like,
Right.
dude, you have Iron Man armor. That's your first question? Come on.
That's a fair question.
Let the past go. What was Kyle Ren's
Let the
quote?
past die.
Yeah, there you go.
And then let's make Solo. But no one got to play Fallout 76 at
No.
E3. It was just those in-depth videos and all that
Beta
stuff.
coming soon, they said.
Yeah.
And it's coming this year.
Right. Cork, you excited about that?
Not really.
Yeah.
Not
You've
really.
had enough Bethesda for a while?
Just yeah, I'm good. I liked Fallout 4 was fine. I just did not enjoy the base building component. That seems like a big
Part of
this.
Yeah.
And I was disappointed too. Like nothing really jumped out with Fallout 4. Like you've got to see this incredible base.
Totally.
Like some people made like a pixel art, like Pip-Boy kind of thing. You're like, all
could
right,
say it.
that's pretty neat looking. But there was nothing really spectacular and cool. So hopefully they give people tools to make cool things with this. And I don't know.
See what
I
the
don't want to
community
play.
does
I
with
don't want to play with other people. Ultimately, I
Yeah.
enjoy the lone experience.
it. I get it.
It's gonna be someone duck walking across the apocalypse, jumping on stuff. It's just whatever immersion you have is gonna be immediately ruined by a bunch of jerks.
Well, I also
Instead
think
of
too, it's
bugs.
like because like building is not like Fortnite, where you're just like build things up, where it's like takes a while to build up things. At least it has in the past. If I'm making some assumptions here,
Yeah.
but like if I'm sitting there and I'm like I'm gonna build my masterpiece, and then someone blows it up with a nuke, I'm gonna turn that game off, and I'm never gonna play that game again.
See if it's streamlined where you're just using kits where it's like you build a house and it's got power. That was the big thing. The problem I had with Fallout 4 was like wiring everything together, building those generators and all that stuff. I was like, this isn't fun.
yeah.
It's interesting and it's cool that you have that survival component.
Some
but
people are into it. Yeah.
it just wasn't fun.
It should have been just ingrained in the game.
Yeah.
It should have
Yeah.
been like a side thing people could have screwed with.
Yeah.
Right. But we'll see.
Noah from Norman, Oklahoma says, hello, podcast crew. I only started listening 3 months ago, and I love the show. Thank you. Tell a friend. Anyway, for the last couple of years, I've held up The Witcher 3 and Titanfall 2 as my 2 favorite games of this console generation so far, both of which easily making my top 10 of all time somewhere. To hear that Cyberpunk will incorporate a first-person perspective, sliding, wall running, and driving all on top of what is, in my opinion, the best possible foundation for role-playing with The Witcher 3 has me incredibly excited. Thanks for the exciting description on the podcast. You're welcome. We didn't get a chance to talk about Cyberpunk with you two guys. You also saw the demo. Cork, did you see the demo?
No.
Okay, great. You can be the dumb guy asking questions as well then. What did you guys think of that Cyberpunk demo?
We were the first ones to see it because Andy got this bug in his butt to go see it.
I did. I was like, we need to go see this
15
right away.
minutes before the show began, we were just going to start walking the halls, and we had a appointment for the last day of the show to go see it. And
Oh, okay.
we worked our magic and
Yeah.
ended up seeing the first showing of it.
Yes, the, Project Red was very nice and let
Yes,
us in.
yes.
They were very understanding of our kind of request. And yeah, we got to see it. I mean, I think, I had a lot of one of the ways I like to talk about this is like we've been talking about this game around the office for a while, right?
Yeah.
You're like, is it third person? Is it first person? They have to have guns because it's cyberpunk. Like, what kind of world is it? Is it one of those rainy, dark worlds? What is it going to be? And I think we had a lot of questions. And so the demo, when we sat down, it started slow. I thought I would definitely say it started slow. I at first. From watching the movie from the Xbox conference, you're like, oh, okay, I understand this world now, which I was kind of surprised by that they went with such a kind of vibrant first look. But they really did drive home that like it's not Blade Runner, I think, with that. But it does have Blade Runner overtones to it. But I mean, it definitely to be like, hey, this isn't like just like dark future. Do you know what I mean? Even though it's pretty dark, but you know what I mean? Like it's a little bit more bright and lively, a little more 80s punk rock. I is the kind of vibe I got from it. And in the game, and actually, I think the dialogue at the beginning is really bad. Like, I think it starts
Really
off
bad?
I did. I thought it kind of like it sounded like a bad action movie at the beginning.
Like your buddy Jackie, like the Hispanic
like,
guy?
let's get him. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
okay.
like a lot of swearing, and it felt kind of I just thought the beginning, I was like, okay, I don't know what this is.
Because you're like raiding that apartment before
Yeah.
the city opens up or anything like that.
But I felt like as that 50 minutes went on, it really starts to show like, okay, and then there's this level of depth, and then there's this level of depth, and then there's this level of depth. And as they started to show more and more of that depth, that's when I started to go, whoa, this is like, you know, like Rita says, like, that's when you start to go, this could have the Witcher level. I mean, we don't know because we don't know. I mean, we assume because that's what they do. But I mean, you can certainly see the opportunity is there. That could be in that classic Witcher way. Every side quest is handmade and created and not a lot of repeats. That if they do that with this game, there's a lot of opportunity to make something truly amazing, right? And by the end, I really liked the dialogue. I liked there's like a drone going on in the background and music. And at first I was like, the music's okay. And then at the end I was like, it's making me really nervous.
Yeah.
and I really started to feel like the weight of the world that went from bright to really feeling like you could feel the dark future, right? Especially when they go and they fight those guys with their faces missing, and they've got like they're like all these like crazy like spider eyes, like
Royce,
kind of like,
I think is that guy's name.
Yeah, I was like, okay, this is weird. And then you go out and you talk to the company. You know, you kind of saw all the factions a little bit there too, and you're like, okay, this is going to be fun to screw with in that kind of GTA way, where you're like, I can play these guys off these guys. How am I going to make my credits and run the world? I found it amazingly fascinating by the end, and you could really tell that it has kind of that Witcher level of questing, but I felt with a little bit of like kind of an injection of like kind of a GTA overworld that really was it felt like lead you, in a lot of ways. So it was easily, I thought, the best game at the show.
Yeah, we gave it game at the show, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what we've done. Yeah. I mean, that's what I liked.
That went to Mario Party.
Yeah.
Super Mario Party.
Yeah, I kind of echo what Andy's thinking. Like at the beginning, though, the first thing we see is the character creator, and right there, I was like, "Whoa, they don't have a defined protagonist. You get to make yourself,
including like weird options of like your backstory. Like signifying moment is like the death of a sibling. That's going to be the most impactful moment.
And then
in your
they say
childhood.
that will change the narrative as it goes forward, and not just that, but your gender. And I was like, okay, this is super complex, like way more so than Witcher. And then, again, I kept thinking Witcher going in, and then the first thing you see is first person. I was like, this is not at all what I expected.
It's jarring, yeah.
As Andy is saying, like that first firefight, I thought it was pretty clever on their part to have it be just kind of a standard firefight where you're just kind of diving behind cover, shooting, and it looks pretty standard, right, for a shooter at that point. But then when you go into that bathroom and you find the bodies in the tub, and you start doing the cyberpunk stuff with it, and you're like, okay, this is cool. I like this kind of interaction where you're actually like doing like computer hacking, like extracting data
into corpses.
Yeah, and I was like,
weird.
okay, this is wild. And then in that moment, they kind of define the hierarchy of the world where rich people have like this very like aggressive like medical service that can come to their aid with like when the ambulance comes out, it's not like medical workers that come out first. It's guys in heavy like Master Chief like armor, and I'm like, I like this world. I want to see more of this.
It's a dog eat dog world. Very obviously, yeah.
From that point, it's just boom, boom, boom,
crazy.
just building an intensity, and like you said, that dark future really like comes into play, especially when you're kind of shaping your narrative in that big mission they showed.
Yeah. Because people can't get enough of the details of this game, I have a scattershot of notes that I took during that demo. I'm going to run down them super quick.
Yeah,
right? Quickly, things we haven't talked about on the podcast yet. Numbers pop off of enemies.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't mentioned that. A lot of slow motion with the inhaling drugs, all that stuff.
Yeah.
The currency in the game is Eurodollar. There are 6 districts, no loading screens. Dexter is the crime lord you meet who gives you the first quest there. It's kind of like a Marcellus Wallace from Pulp Fiction type.
Yeah.
When characters talk to you, there's like a picture-in-picture format. They pop up on the screen like a little video conference thing. There's a cat drinking from a bowl of milk or a bowl of water or something on the street. So there's cats in the game. It'll have a variety of vehicles. They said preparation for combat is key. You get hacked at some point with like a lie detector program, and then you have dialogue options when you clearly know some are lying. You don't know the consequences of lying when you're jacked into a lie detector program.
So real quick on that. So that whole string where they put a lie detector in you, the first question they ask you is, are you alone? And you say no, and they immediately, or you say yes, and they immediately know that you're lying.
Yeah.
They send you with that data chip that supposedly has the money to buy the weapons. I think in that moment where you lied, they decided to double cross you then and send you over to your death, basically. Whereas I think if you maybe played that through and gained their absolute trust, they might have actually gave you money and you could have had a pacifist run.
That seems
That's
likely.
freaking crazy.
Yeah, for sure. And they said
That's true. Yeah, I mean, it does look like there's choice. I did have come across my mind, at least, just because I do think at times you're like, there were like 5 or 6 like touch points in that demo where you're like, this could change directions, right? And then you're like, okay, what choice do you make? And I was always like, does it matter? You know what I mean? Like, it's that classic kind of telltale choice where it all like goes back to one, no matter what, to kind of move the story forward. But I mean, I love it if there's that much choice, if there's that big of a tree where you can really try to like change that world. Would be, I mean, that would be amazingly impressive.
Well,
You could have killed those mission givers right at the beginning and took the money and never went to that meat factory. And
we might see it too, because on Kotaku's podcast, somebody from CD Projekt, they said that for Gamescom, they're basically going to be showing a variant of the E3 demo again, just like a different path through that demo.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
that'll be fun to see.
Yeah.
Also on that podcast, they said there are 500 developers currently working on it, which is more than I expected.
there's
but
3 full development teams. Yeah.
crazy. Okay, real quick. You can slide on the floor in first person. Flathead's the name of the spider robot. You can jam weapons by hacking into them so they can't fire. There's a club called the Afterlife, which is weird because it's also the name of the club in Mass Effect 2. V loves scotch, and they were big on pushing surveys at the end. I thought that was really interesting. I don't know what that says about the state of the game or how early or malleable the development is, but I take it in your guys' demo as well, right? CD Projekt Red was like, hey, please fill out these surveys. We have every great developer in the industry seeing this demo. Like, we want to get the best feedback because we can still shape this thing quite a bit.
Yeah, I think you can. I mean, like, if you talk to people from the company, I mean, that's what got them to where they are today, was a passion to make great games, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the thing that is very apparent about CD Projekt Red, is that they are not screwing around, right? You know what I mean? Like, they are putting everything into these things. I think they're just looking for something that maybe they didn't think of,
Yeah.
right? You know, and you know, I kind of at times I think people go like, oh, they kind of stole this from Bethesda, or they stole this from Rockstar, or whoever, you know, you want to like point to. But it's like, I look at more as like, they're looking at the great games, right? The games that are like the true great games of the last decades, and trying to find inspiration in them and finding a way to like mold their game to be that kind of hit that kind of level, you know, that high a note. And I think it works.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think they're just trying to be great.
Absolutely.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah. No
Seriously.
kidding.
Jeff Cork, here we go. Ready for this?
I'm ready for
Ready
this.
for something weird?
Yep.
Garrett from Ogden, Utah. So you know it's going to be weird from Ogden. He says, hey, Ben and crew, I just had a dream where the next Katamari game was a battle royale. And it was Sony's main focus at E3. They introduced it by rolling giant beach balls around the crowd at the conference with the trailer showing at the same time. Only a few more days to see if my dream was really a prophecy. It wasn't. I'm sorry. You must have written this before E3. Okay,
He probably sent you another one, like, please delete the email I sent you.
Yeah.
You haven't got it yet. You'll get that next week.
This is where it gets weird. RC3 from Belmar, New Jersey writes in and says, hey, GI crew, I'm a longtime magazine fan, a newish podcast listener, and a first-time writer. Welcome. This is more of a pitch than a question, but to put it bluntly, Katamari Battle Royale.
What?
Why has this never been thought of?
This is weird.
20 Katamaris are scattered around a city at random, starting as the size of marbles until 2 Katamari the size of planets are left trying to roll each other up. Last Katamari standing wins. 2 from Ogden, Utah, and from New Jersey. 2 people rated about Katamari Battle Royale. It's weird, right?
Yeah.
All right, that's it. Curtis Lau.
Battle Royale on the brain, right? That's the whole game industry.
And everybody's thinking about, we got to get that Katamari cash flow
Yeah.
in there, baby. But yeah, that sounds good. They should make it. Curtis Lau from Madison, Wisconsin says, hey, gang, question. Are there any video game characters that molded your running style?
Like my real life running
Your
style?
real life.
My, like, gait?
Yes, when I was an adolescent, I would run around like Fox McCloud in Smash Brothers. It's the same as the Naruto run, where his hands are like behind him. Once I was starting cross country in high school, I was really into Uncharted 1, so to take my mind off things and get into a rhythm, I would run like Nathan Drake.
How does Nathan Drake run?
It seems
Half tuck.
Yeah, half tuck, kind of like stumbling around, touching a lot of walls, I believe.
No.
Every time somebody passes you on the track. I thought that I could run faster if I ran like the T-1000 from Terminator 2.
Oh,
like
like
the arms
paddle
up thing.
hands?
Totally. It's very stupid.
weird.
But I was
That
quite
probably
convinced.
doesn't work.
I mean,
I think whenever I run, I'm usually like, I mean, I do run from time to time, right? I'm usually just so not having fun when I'm running. I don't think about how I'm running. I'm just thinking about when does it end. And I do a weird thing where I count to 100 over and over in my head when I run.
Really?
Huh.
Yeah.
Just as like not when you get to 100 you're going to stop is just a way of tricking yourself into thinking there's some progress here?
Yeah, I think so. I don't actually understand the what's crazy about it, but I'll just start counting.
Well, that just clears
And
your
then-
mind of thoughts of like I should stop then, right? Like
yeah,
you're
just like kind of
focused on
ignore the
something.
pain. Just kind of so I count.
Smart.
I just count. It's weird. So I don't think about how I run. I just count and focus going forward.
So that's our advice to you.
Yeah, I don't know.
Please do it, Curtis.
Even if I did any different animation, like trying, I would just look like Jack Skellington. Like people would just be like, "That's the dude from Nightmare Before Christmas."
Nightmare running. People used to make fun of me in gym class saying that I looked like the walking stick from Bug's Life when I ran.
Yeah,
It hurts.
it's not our
doesn't it?
fault. It's our parents' fault for making us like
Not
this.
our fault. Hello, GI showrunners from Will Collum. Hello. He says, greetings from Des Moines. I don't know if anyone's ever called Des Moines that. No. Anyways, I wanted to hear from y'all what your biggest omission was from E3. Granted, there were amazing games and announcements revealed, and I don't want to be a negative Nelly. I know you have insider info from your occupation hazard as a games journalist, but what was something you thought was a sure thing from E3 2018 that sadly didn't come to pass? Were you guys disappointed by anything that wasn't at the show? Seems like Leo, Metroid 4. Yeah, that's a big one.
I would like to have seen that. I would like that to been like a prime thing for Nintendo to bring. I was hoping that was a surprise.
But just think about next year. If it is like the front and focus game for next year and they decorate the entire booth to look like something from Metroid, that could be so cool.
I don't think they would.
I don't think Metroid will ever be their singular focus.
I think it's going to be the core Pokemon, right? Like that we know of.
Yeah.
Or it might be time for a new Zelda or Mario, right?
And that's what the decorate the booth was? Yeah. I think like 2 years, it was so strong. We're from Zelda to Mario, and like the booth decoration was amazing. And then this year, it was just like wide open. They had like some items from Smash, but I guess there's no like concrete Smash aesthetic to design a booth after. It's kind of a bummer.
I mean, I get the feeling that like next year's E3 will finally get some console glimpses, right, of whatever the next consoles will be from Sony and Xbox, and Nintendo will want to have a really strong lineup to battle that, because I mean they're not going to have Switch 2 right anytime soon.
They might have a new model of Switch.
They might have a new model. Yeah, but I would agree with that. There might be some like 3DS type modifications that come, or or options, right? But I mean, the core games aren't going to change, right? So it's a question of like they need to have, I think, a really big lineup next year. And so I agree with Reiner. I think you'll see something Zelda, you'll see Metroid, you'll see Pokemon.
But Metroid will always be like
B tier.
Yeah, it's like
will
the
always be
redheaded stepchild of Nintendo, right?
It stinks. Stinks. I wish it wasn't. But I mean, I also blame them a bit too. They've always kind of like let it go too long, and it doesn't get to build up the same kind of steam and like engage new players, right? And it's funny because every year there's a game that people love, and they go like, it's like Metroid, and you're like, like wish Metroid was like Metroid, that they would focus on it more.
Yeah.
But hopefully this is a chance for it to do it again. I mean, there's always a chance.
Do you think Nintendo is like, well, we put Ridley in the Smash. Da, 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 da. You can play as Samus and Zero Suit Samus. Another job well done from us.
Yeah,
You think
that was a
they
weird
really-
presentation from Reggie where he kept just rubbing his hands together.
No, but seriously, do you think that they think that they are doing fans right by putting
Maybe.
Metroid front and center in the Smash Brothers series and like, this is adequate?
Maybe. Or like, they're such a weird company. I mean, people put so much into the E3 presence, but they're the type of company where 3 weeks from now they could have a Nintendo Direct that's half an hour long. That's all about Metroid Prime 4. Like they have it such a weird scattershot thing throughout the year that.
And they do that weird thing too, where it's like, hey, you like Metroid, huh? How about Metroid Sports Minigame? It's like, hey, you want another chibi robo? Here's a platformer. Why not? Hey,
why aren't you smiling?
yeah, another Pikmin?
I mean,
There's another side scroller. Why not?
I love making fun of Nintendo's odd
It's very
choices.
fun.
Certainly, it is entertaining. But I think that the other side of that too is that I do admire that Nintendo will take as much time as it needs to make one of their great games, like their flagpole games, like amazing. And maybe Metroid wasn't there, but maybe that's because they're going to give it the time it deserves. They're not going to rush it out. I mean, few other companies would walk in with so few games, at E3 and be like, "It's good, we're fine, we got it, no
It's
worries."
Smash,
we got the one game you want.
Yeah. We're good, no worries. We'll talk about these other games later, and like they can do that. That's Nintendo because they are so good at that flagship. But yes, they do some weird.
But it's frustrating
stuff.
though, because I think like they'd have the potential of having so many more big franchises like Metroid, like what they've done with Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
Where it's like, here's Happy Home Designer, that weird Mario Party style game and then the mobile game when it's like people want a mainline entry. People want another like
Agreed.
great Metroid game.
Right. Animal Crossing will be 2020 at this point, probably. But in terms of like things that are missing, it's weird to look back at that Walmart Canada list and how it was spot on, except for 3 entries, right? No Final Fantasy VII Remake, no Splinter Cell.
Well,
which
we know
is-
that's real. Splinter Cell could just be complete.
Right.
Yeah.
And then also
fabrication,
Borderlands 3 was also on that list. But pretty good track record for that Walmart Canada thing.
Yeah, I mean, we all knew about. I mean, Borderlands 3's like happening, right?
Yeah, they've
I
said
mean
it,
that's one anyone could have put on a list 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't. Splinter Cell certainly seems like something that I believe that they're working on a Splinter Cell.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it seems like they have to. It's like they're, Ubisoft's making a lot of multiplayer type games like Wildlands, Siege, doing a lot of things in that space. They brought him up recently. Like, I think you can do cool spy stuff that you could make a different kind of online game. Like For Honor's an online game that they're always investing in and trying to make, multiplayer and community-driven games. Like, I mean, the best Splinter Cell still was, I would say like the Chaos Theory, like multiplayer
Yeah.
is like one of its high points. And to not revisit that in an age where people want like competitive online games, I'm sure Ubisoft is looking for something that's going to turn into an esport. Right? Be different. Do
Yeah.
something with it. So
Spies versus Mercs, why not? Yeah.
It makes sense to me, right? I mean, I would greenlight it if I was Ubisoft.
That's the sound of a green light.
Yeah.
Mm,
Wow.
Thank you. Hey, GI Crew, says Ian Pierce from Charlottesville. Again, hello. With the possibility of a third Borderlands on the horizon and the tradition of great opening sequences in the series, I just want to know what y'all think would be a good song choice for the Borderlands 3 opening credits. Initially, I thought something like Carry On Phenomenon by Kishi Bashi. Is anyone hip? Do they know that one? But I recently thought of a very good choice. Everybody Wants to Rule the World. I feel like they've used that in video game trailers at some point before.
It's Tears
it
for
needs,
Fears.
Yeah, it needs like something novel, something new and hip, right?
How about this isn't new or hip, but how about My Lovin' by En Vogue?
How does that one go?
Never gonna get it, never gonna get it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, double
See what I'm
layer
saying?
there. I got you. I
Mhm.
got you.
And they releases the first trailer 3 years
Yeah.
before the game comes
Yeah,
out. That
yeah.
seems smart.
Coming 20XX.
Yeah. I do wonder about just the tone of Borderlands 3 overall. It's tough because like that.
I mean, I think Royal Blood, out of the black or whatever. Like, do something like I like the kind of like when it goes a little metal.
Okay, metal opening, a metal tone for all
Well, it's
Borderlands.
not
series?
really metal. It's more like kind of like I don't even know what you'd call it, prog rock probably. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think I like it when they do the kind of the openings that kind of hit that Led Zeppelin note.
Yeah,
Big drums,
yeah,
big hits, right?
Why the
Some
hell not?
Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah, like that kind of stuff.
Settled into a groove.
Yeah,
Guy
got
just
this
going,
indie alt crap. Just make it more metal. All
yeah,
right.
I mean I think that plays into the game, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm excited to see where that's going to go. That could go in a lot of directions. The world has changed a lot since Borderlands 2.
Or talk to whoever curates the Don't Nod stuff and some mopey acoustic guitar.
Get some Bright Eyes in there as the opening. Yeah, baby. Now we're talking. Chris James from Shreveport, Louisiana says, "Hey, informants. Hello. Where is the outrage over violence in the new Last of Us 2 trailer? I remember editors saying there was no context to the violence in the last trailer because Joel and Ellie weren't in it. I would think the stance would hold here because we still don't know who these people are that she's stabbing, shooting, mauling, etc. Where's it discussed? Why is there so much praise?"
I hear that, but man, that tech. Like, I was watching that demo just like, my God, the calculations that are going on, the animations, it's just like,
She really pulls that arrow out of her arm.
I mean, just that
yeah.
moment, you're like, oh, wow.
Or like when the person's looking under the car and she just pops.
Or
them right
even
in
the
face.
kiss. I mean, everybody's just talking about most realistic lips I've ever seen in a video game.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, the Naughty Dog just bonkers with the technology.
So
But
you're
yes,
too wowed
it
by
is
the tech.
very, very, very violent.
Yeah, I mean, I ended up, I was talking to the dogs a bit, and I started, I had to ask some questions, and I started asking, and they looked at me, and they were like, "Do you really want me to answer that question?" I was like, "God damn it, no, I don't."
Like spoiler stuff?
Yeah. Well, just like because I feel like right now they've shown us these two like ultra violent videos, right? And they did temper it a little bit with the kind of the barn scene or church scene,
Which I thought was awesome framing for that.
yeah, because it's. I mean, I think people. It was the ebb and flow, right, that made Last of Us great, right? There were times when you were just like dealing with the baddies, and it was just a lot to take on. But it was like the silent moments when the game like kind of like was great. Like,
Yeah.
kind of like spoiler alert, like, giraffes and things like that. You were like, whoa, that's cool, right? You know what I mean? It really changed the tone as the game went on. They have definitely pointed to this game being very dark, right? Like overly dark, even to some degree. But that means also, I think that gives them an opportunity to like have like some overly bright moments. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that does open up the door to be that way. But I think with the new characters that are involved and all the new players and kind of like just even like who are these people in the like kind of ponchos out there? You know what I mean? Like what all this stuff is. I want to know, but at the same time too, I don't want to know because I think that's going to be the tale, right? I mean, they're writing something obviously way off the deep end, and I want to know what it is, but I also want to play it, right? That's when I want to find out what it is, right? So I agree with them. It's kind of like I want to know, but I don't.
Yeah, I felt like I knew a lot about Last of Us 1, going into that. Like, okay, you're going against these guys with the disease and all that, but then you start that game in the first 10 minutes, it just knocks you off of your feet, and all expectations are off after that. Like,
so you're hoping for another moment like that, just to.
I anticipate it now.
Yeah.
Like I have a feeling like no matter what you tell me, I don't trust you guys.
Like, to this dance.
To Naughty Dog, like they're gonna do some crazy stuff, and it's gonna be a wild ride, and I can't wait.
Especially with the emphasis on Ellie in those trailers, like what Joel is really up to in this game, that could be the haymaker out
He's
of the
in the
gate.
bathroom.
Just hanging out.
Yeah.
He's having a good time. I understand.
There's gonna be an Al Bundy style toilet flush, and he'll like stroll on there. Hey, what I miss? Hey, see some daylight between you two.
Zephyr from South Florida is a big Kingdom Hearts fan. A couple people wrote in saying, hey, leave those trailers alone. They were good. And the point is, like, Zephyr here is saying, like, hey, they made those trailers for fans. And my point is, they shouldn't. They should make some of those trailers for the wider public.
The audio was really awful on one of them too, right?
What trailer are we talking about? I'm sorry.
The Kingdom Hearts 3 trailers.
Oh.
Like all of them had the weird audio issues and just dove into the lore in the back half to a just absurd degree.
They tease some cool stuff or they show some cool stuff, but they definitely overstay their welcome. It's like, well, we're still in Pirates of the Caribbean. Like, then you're like 4 minutes now. And then the weird music kicks in, anime stuff, and I don't know, it just doesn't hit.
Yeah, I feel.
I agree. Like something a little snappier would be good.
It could be such a gigantic game if they just get over that hurdle and stop turning off people like me that are interested in it. But every time I see one of those trailers where they emphasize the lore, I just want to puke.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they're playing to their base, right?
Very much so.
Yeah, I mean, because I went and played Kingdom Hearts, and I was like, yeah, that was all right. You know what I mean? And like the person next to me who loved Kingdom Hearts was freaking out. You know what I mean? Like, it was like the greatest game they've ever played.
Yeah.
Just like kind of the two different experiences of like the Kingdom Hearts fans. They're definitely leaning into what they love, right? And like I think they're excited. So their trailers are definitely for them.
Yeah, for sure. Royan from West Java, Indonesia, thanks for writing in. Says, why do so many publishers have their in-house engines like EA has Frostbite? My question is, why doesn't Sony have their own in-house engine for their own worldwide studio?
They do. Kojima's using Gorilla's engine.
It's like Decima. But,
yeah.
I mean,
but
that's like the only crossover I can really
Naughty
think
Dog
of.
shares their tech, but I don't know if they're necessarily sharing the whole package. I don't think that's ever the case with any dev outside of like if you're buying Unreal or licensing that. Like, I know there's a lot of shared tech there. I know they don't name it. They don't come out and say this is this thing usually. So I think that's the difference where a lot of developers will kind of pat their backs on here's our new tech. Here's the slip space engine. That's the first thing we learned about Halo Infinite.
Yeah, you're totally right.
Is it has a new engine. We don't know anything else about it.
Yep. Also, Just Cause 4, I think they were also big on branding their engine.
Yeah.
It's always interesting. I wonder if Sony, like...
Developer by developer, kind of how they approach it.
Well, I mean, I think the important thing to remember here is that Frostbite is great, right? And I'm not dissing Frostbite in any way, but Frostbite was designed to do Battlefield, right? Like that's where it starts.
Yeah.
And then they start to add layers to that engine to do more, right? Like even people that use Unreal Engine, right? They have to go in and put in a bunch of tools that are specific to the game they're going to make, right? They don't just open up the box and go Unreal Engine and just start making whatever game they're going to make. They need to make custom tools to make the kind of games they want to make. So like there's challenging things when you're, let's just use BioWare, and not that I know anything, but like if you're trying to make a complex RPG with like a big dialogue system and choices, like Frostbite doesn't have that from the Battlefield where it was built, right?
Totally.
Like you know what I mean? So like while you can share those engines and get benefits from all those things, there's also things that that are challenges, right? You have to go through, and every engine has a challenge. So a lot of times people will build engines specifically for the game they're going to make or the games they're going to make, right?
Right.
So I think that's important when someone does it. Like Just Cause is like, hey, we're just going to keep making open world, blow up crap games, right? You know what I mean? Like they want to have a lot of destruction. That's the focus. That's what they design their engines to do and excel at, right? Where Naughty Dog is going to do kind of closer combat, story driven, a little more linear, open linear, whatever you want to call it, kind of games. So they don't need all the rendering or being able to support 64 players. So, I mean, like having tailored engines isn't a bad thing. Don't look at it as like a bad thing. Look at it as like choice.
Yeah.
And the developers making that choice because they're going to have to do their own custom stuff one way or the other. It's a question of what limitations you're going to take from each engine you bring on and start with.
Yeah, and there's so many varied studios there. I mean, you can't use the same engine for Concrete Genie as God of War, even though I guess it's both third person, but
there's a bit of marketing to it too, where you add another number to Frostbite, and that you lead the charge with that, and that just tells people, oh,
It's
this
better.
is all new tech.
Yeah,
it's going to
yeah,
be
yeah.
better.
Yeah,
right,
it's
right.
better.
Especially when there's so many old studios within Sony as well. They've just kind of been slowly evolving their engines over time. Like maybe someday they'll all get more on the same page. But
it's also important too that like game engines, I mean, that's why they bring out a new Unreal, right? Or anything else like that over time, is that they need to always be enabling the developer to do things fast and efficiently, and also to be able to like compile and get their work into like a usable game form, right? And so like even though you make improvements over time, eventually you have to like upgrade, right? You can't always work the same way forever. They do have to improve. I mean, I do think there's that. So it does build up over time, but then it does all collapse and you start over.
oh, you know what though? When they release Dreams, I think every Sony game from that point on is just going to be made within Dreams. That's basically what this guy is trying to get at anyway.
That piano's in every one of these games.
Yeah.
That game's so wild. Bruce Dixon has an interesting question. Reiner, you can take this one. Anthem is Destiny plus Monster Hunter plus flying? Is that correct?
No.
Okay. All right. I guess not, Bruce. Did you enjoy your time playing that game?
I really did. I just keep calling it the Iron Man game. It could be the Iron Man game I always wanted.
Right. But there's no sex in it, Reiner.
I know.
That we know of.
People address that right away. Yeah, it really does play like, I mean, you're playing Tony Stark, basically. You flying with ease, hovering, using, going down iron sights, while you're hovering. Like,
Yeah.
it's cool. It's different. We'll see. I mean, we've seen one mission, right? Like, we don't know what the open world holds. We don't know how the story's really they've talked to us about it,
Yeah.
but we haven't seen it's all interconnected.
The overall flow
that
of
might
that
have
game.
more of a Destiny vibe at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But the only Destiny vibe I really got was like the boss being a bullet sponge with a gold health bar, right? Like, and I was like, I've done this before. But the boss fight was very different.
Yeah. Yeah. Andy, are you looking forward to it as a big Destiny fan?
Yeah, I mean, I like both those. I stink at flying. It's one of
It's tricky, isn't it?
I'm bad at flying. I've always been bad at flying. I think I've talked about it on this show. Like, what's your weak point? My weak point has always been flying. Is a thing I'm bad at. I don't know why my brain doesn't quite do it right, but I do have trouble with that. So I'm hopeful that it's intuitive and I can get used to it and it becomes an advantage for the game. I mean, I think the thing when I didn't get to play it, I watched Reiner play it. And talking to
Skillfully.
people, actually they compliment him, but I feel like they compliment every journlist when they come in.
Oh,
and
yeah.
play.
No,
Especially if it's with the right
they're not blowing up journals.
I just feel like BioWare has a history of making games for a broad audience, right? And I think that's great that they're making tight and compelling gameplay, which everyone who played Anthem said it's tight, right? It plays really, really well.
Yeah.
It's fun. I like shooting things, right? And Reiner's totally right that like we don't know what that shooting thing means yet. Like how big the world is, what doing it for an extended period of time is, how does it grow, how do the RPG elements affect it and make it more compelling or less compelling, right? There's a lot of big questions there, but I do think the reason why the fans were like, okay, BioWare, did you do these check boxes, right? Because I think their fans do expect that because BioWare has made games for a broad audience for a long, long time, right?
Yeah.
And when you say you're making a shooter with flight, with all these kind of parts to it, it narrows the interest, right? I think versus like, hey, do you want to live through this giant fantasy? That's pretty broad, right? Hey, do you want to like be a part of this sci-fi space opera? Very broad. Like this is a little more focused. And I love that the gameplay's focused. I mean, the best gameplay I can think of from BioWare before this would be Mass Effect 3.
Yeah, their multiplayer
Andromeda
was
has its
pretty good.
problems, but like
Yeah, the
using that
co-op.
jetpack, I like Andromeda's gameplay maybe a little bit more.
So you'd say it's the best. So they've been
guess.
gradually getting better.
Yeah.
For them to go from like a lot of dice rolls and stuff like
Yeah.
that to probably the most sophisticated, like if you are comparing it to those other games like the Destinies and stuff, most sophisticated controls, because when you add that flight element,
Yeah.
that is seriously something that takes time. Like, it took me a couple minutes to really get used to like
And then you
how
use it
this
underwater
functions.
too, right? It's like
Yeah.
Underwater,
it's
but there's a cooldown on it, and in that boss fight I was starting to get my bearings of like, oh, I can't just hover the whole time because I need to use flight to dodge his webbing. So you're like managing that at the same time as you're hovering and flying and using all of your different attacks, and all the standard like trappings of a first or third person shooter are there as well.
Yeah.
It's pretty complex. So for them to do that with like their first real like true test of like a shooter is crazy.
It's crazy. And I mean, when I come away and Reiner says I like the gameplay, and Joe Juba says I'm like super duper excited for this game because he's the RPG nut who went and did our cover story, which you can read online now. But like he was psyched. And when you both like say it's that it's checking the boxes, that's a reason to get excited. And I love BioWare. BioWare's made some of the greatest games ever. So I'm hopeful, very very hopeful
For sure. Gameformer.com/Anthem. Features rolling out all the time.
Yeah.
Multiple times a week. Also, maybe next week we'll have the director of the game Skyping into the show, so that'll be fun. Okay, Paul from Vancouver has a PSA saying that, hey, you can't use Game Pass on PC. He thought he could because he really wanted to play Sea of Thieves.
Oh, wow.
So he like signed up for Game Pass, and then it turns out you can like see it, but he had to call technical support, and it turns out you needed to own an Xbox and then go to Xbox, and then you can hit the download option on your PC. So it's all broken and weird. So that's a weird avenue for them
Sounds
to expand
intuitive.
into. Yeah, it's the Microsoft system.
People saying they don't have any exclusives. Guess what? Game Pass exclusive just to the Xbox.
Fast start.
Here we go. Fast start.
Fast start, everybody.
Weird
Fast
one.
start.
That's a
You know,
weird
that
one.
was
Man, they
that-
botched that messaging.
No, that was the highlight of the Microsoft press
It
conference.
was an amazing
We
press
were
conference,
laughing.
Andy. Give them one fault.
It was good, but come on.
It was very weird. Kyle from Iowa, Jeff Cork, here we go. Hello, Game Informer crew, but Jeff Cork specifically. I'd like to know who are your top 3 characters for Smash Brothers?
Oh, top 3?
Yeah,
The ones I have most fun with?
Your mains.
sure.
My mains, I'd say Villager.
So much fun.
Because you got that tree, you can catch objects with the pocket.
Making a tree crash on someone, I think, is the most satisfying way to kill somebody.
It
in
is
Smash
the
Brothers.
best thing because the person sees it coming and you're just like, please fall in the right place. And when it happens, it is the best thing. 'Cause
Also, just his basic attack of running with like the potted plant and then tripping and falling as an attack. Brilliant, Andy. It's brilliant.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
it's
Truly,
really good.
truly.
Uh-huh.
I'd say Ness.
Ooh,
I
old
really
school.
enjoy all his moveset. I think he's adorable too. I like
You're a
his
real dick with PK Thunder.
PK Thunder. You gotta be a real dick with that, and he
Uh-huh.
can do the little taunt where he bows. That's really fun. And I'm really glad that Pichu is coming back because
Really?
I like Pikachu
Wow,
a lot.
I didn't
think
see
he's
that
super
coming.
fun, but I like how terrible Pichu is. The fact that his own attacks cause damage to
So you just
himself.
like to play him as a joke?
Kind of. Hey, it's a game for fun people.
Yeah, you're right. You're
I always
totally right.
thought you'd be a Fox McCloud guy.
Oh, I'm awful with him.
He's
Just
too
him.
fast.
He's too fast.
During the marathon, who'd you play the most?
Oh boy.
We did a 24-hour world record.
30.
30 hours. Sorry,
Yeah.
guys. Sorry to shortchange
I did
you.
I think I did a lot of Ness and Pikachu. I think we did a fair bit of random too. Though.
Okay.
Yeah.
I saw people requesting for you guys to do that again for Ultimate when that comes out.
Oh, I'd love to.
Really?
Yeah.
Would you do it?
Yeah.
Get Guinness back?
What's the record now?
Yeah, what is it? We can get that.
Probably
It's
6
probably
years.
ridiculous.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
have
it
no
probably is
idea.
ridiculous, yeah.
Yeah.
It's still
They're
going
still
from the
going.
last time that we did
Yeah,
it.
It's
yeah.
still
yeah,
bank
we-
sleep, right?
You guys got in on the ground floor. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I think the floor has been raised.
You're totally right.
The whole banking sleep thing.
It's pretty good.
Not fair. Not fair at all. I love Smash Bros. And I love the idea that I've just been playing Link in those games for like 20 years
me
now.
too.
Like
That's my
same
main.
controls.
Yeah,
Oh,
just
great.
spinning. Yeah.
Always
jump to
great.
spin. Jump spin.
And got to shift to Toon Link, which is exciting. Okay, Noah from New Paris, Pennsylvania. Oh, we have Paris on the big board. Maybe we can put New Paris on there. He says, I got a question for you guys. What are your thoughts about the idea that Sony is unwilling to allow their players to game alongside Xbox and Switch players in an effort to protect them? If Fortnite, Call of Duty, Battlefield decided to flip the switch and enable that infrastructure into their games, how hard do you think it would be for Sony to stop them?
I mean, I don't think how hard is it? I mean, Sony is stopping them, right? I mean, that's why it's not there.
Well, remember there's that weird accidental thing where Fortnite was cross-platform for a little bit, so the tech exists.
Oh, the tech is. I mean, I think the tech has always existed. My understanding is it's pretty simple. Like, Sony wants people on Sony platforms. I mean, I understand that, like that kind of that attitude, right?
Yeah.
I think it's something that's born from the console wars of the 90s, right? I mean, I think that's their roots. I do think the world has changed a bit, right? I mean, I think that you end up building an account with different developers and different publishers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like even like Destiny 2, when they brought Destiny 2 out on PC. I mean, this is the new news right now because it's Fortnite, but this is old news. It's as far as I'm concerned. I mean, like when they brought out PC Destiny, I was like, okay, cool. I can sometimes play my Destiny characters on PC, and they're like, no.
Yeah.
It's like it wasn't the PC group stopping them. I mean, obviously, it was like Sony did not want people sharing those characters and doing it on different platforms. It's very obviously a choice of theirs. I think this pressure from Fortnite is going to perhaps make them change this policy.
Yeah.
I hope it makes them change the policy. I think it's better for everyone if it's a little more open. I do kind of agree with, though. I mean, I do like, to some degree, I like those ecosystems of like playing a game just with PlayStation. I like the idea of opening up the account. Like if I got a sombrero, right, on one game and it's on my account, like I should be able to use that sombrero when I play with PlayStation players. And I'm fine with the PlayStation being playing against other PlayStation players, right? I don't think it's their job or anyone else's job to like, well, there's not very many people playing on an Xbox. They can play with this PlayStation people, so everyone can kind of get into it. That's not something I think Sony should be obliged to do.
You just want the account.
Right? I just think the account and the account information that you have and the data about your character is yours and the developers, right? I feel that is shared.
Yeah,
Right.
That should be. Yeah.
Should be shared, right? So like, especially in an economy where now we move more towards digital products where they're selling me that sombrero or they're selling me other issues or other things that I can use. If it's not something I can take with me, then that's unfair.
Yeah.
And that's what's unfair about this is that people spent time and money and effort buying things or doing things in Fortnite, and this is the one place they can't use them. And also, too, I would play Destiny 2 a lot more on PC, like when I'm just like, hey, I just want to play on PC, if I didn't have to level up all my characters again,
Yeah,
right?
That's absurd.
Like, there's no reason to make me do that. And that's that same wall is what's stopping that's stopping Fortnite and Switch.
And the wall is just somebody within Sony's headquarters, some office where someone just says no.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's a
Sony's a
company
big
decision.
corporation.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
yeah.
like, and things are the bigger the corporation, the slower decisions get made, right? And when there's no public outcry, there's probably no rush to fix it. There's other fires to deal with internally to get done. But now that there's been one, now that this has happened, I assume it's going to raise the discussion.
Yeah.
I
Right?
think if anything could change it, Fortnite could
It's the
change
one,
it.
yeah.
Like if
I
they were
hope
to say
so.
like, hey, you guys might want to play this weekend because oops. Like if they were to broadcast something like that and then, I mean, they're big enough where they can kind of throw some weight around.
Totally.
Well, it's weird because Sony was kind of at the forefront of this, right? With Final Fantasy 11, you had the crossplay between PS2 and PCs.
Was it crossplay?
Yeah, and then I
weird.
think is 14 doing stuff like that, or did they close
That's a
that
good
down?
question. I don't know.
But yeah, for them to close it off, and then also like, I think maybe they're a little behind the times on this. But like Andy was saying, like, they have their own belief of how things should be. They want people to be on their system. That applies to their store too, with like EA Access, where it's on Xbox, but you can't do that on PS4. It's like, this is our marketplace, not
Yeah.
you can't have your own little marketplace in our marketplace.
It's not a perfect analogy, but it's kind of like at this point, you have people that really like Android phones and you have people that like iPhones. And can you imagine a world when those ecosystems could not communicate with each other? Where
Right.
It's just like ultimately the experience of talking to someone, that act is agnostic to platform.
Well, every
right?
time I call you up on the phone, you're always begging me to buy an Android phone.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah.
You got to do it. So it just seems like if in a game like Fortnite, for instance, where you're playing on console, so you're not worrying about like I guess you can do that now, but like the keyboard mouse division
Yeah,
or whatever
yeah.
versus controllers. Like if you just want to play against someone who's also got a controller, I think it's irrelevant. Like,
Yeah.
if you're just like, hey, I'm an Xbox guy or I'm a PlayStation guy.
Yeah, I guess we'll just keep bugging them every interview we have with Sony. In theory, in the future, like,
Stay tuned.
stay tuned. Yeah,
Hey,
what else can we
to
do?
announce right now?
Like, just hope that Fortnite is enough of a tsunami.
Yeah, it's going to happen or it's not. I mean, it's right now. It's what, the one game.
Yeah,
You know,
it's the one game that people are talking about.
but it's
Well, like
more
Minecraft
games
and stuff.
Yeah,
But,
I
yeah.
guess they could do Minecraft. Yeah,
But I mean, Jeff brings up a good point too. I mean, it is better for the players if,
course.
if you can play on Xbox and PlayStation and play against the same, like
Yeah.
all be in the same multiplayer pool. I want to make clear that I'm not like against players.
Yeah.
Certainly here. I mean, that is better, but I don't think that's required from those companies. They don't have to do that. But
No.
sure would be cool if they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
I
at
think-
least let the third parties decide that. I mean, because that's the thing that Fortnite did. They were like, we don't care if you want to play on the phone versus someone
Yeah.
on a PC. I think you have to choose that though. I think it is
Yes.
an option that
Yep.
you say I allow that to happen, which makes sense to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, play the way you want to play. If
Yeah.
that's what the developers intend, then that's what the developers intend. But
I think to Andy's earlier point, and then we'll move on. Sorry, this is turning into such a big discussion.
it's,
but like
it's an important decision.
Yeah.
Discussion, I think.
when you were talking about like not wanting to level up your characters in Destiny, I think that it's short-sighted.
Again,
It's short-sighted not to appreciate that helps everybody. Like Sony would benefit from an Xbox One player who's thinking, "Oh,
Yeah.
the PS4 Pro is really good.
Yeah, I
I
want
could
one.
jump
Yeah,
ship."
yeah.
But at the same time, all my stuff will be lost. All these cool outfits that I've unlocked from battle passes 2,
Yeah.
3, and 4 that's I'm working on right now. So I'll just get an Xbox One X. Like that migration is good for people.
Yeah, and I mean maybe they're against it because they're kind of ahead now and they don't want people migrating the other
Totally.
way, right? I mean it is a sea that goes both ways, but I think that's the thing is that's good for players, right? Like I said this during E3, like I'm so glad Microsoft got more first party because I want those big companies fighting for us, right? And if that's just another place where they have to fight for our attention,
Yeah.
we win,
Yeah.
right? Like we want them. The winner should be determined by who's doing best, right? Who's doing the best stuff and doing the best stuff for the players. So, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful. There's certainly going to get more and more multiplayer games and more games that you're paying and purchasing and like collecting and holding more and more items that are a part of
Yes.
who you are.
Ugh, by next
And-
generation, just make it a clean break. That's such a good opportunity for them.
Or just, build. I mean, I think they're doing some of that stuff now as they look to like what they're going to do with the store in the next iteration. But I mean, I think it's just important. Like when they talk about, hey, our next hardware is going to be this powerful. That's good, right? I want more powerful, but I think things like a game like Fortnite and its success, Fortnite's not the prettiest game in the world, right? That's not what makes it compelling, right?
Right.
You know what I mean? The tools are what needs to upgrade in the next generation. Like I'm just as much interested in be like, however many flops, flippity floppities it does, great, whatever. Like I want to know like what I get as a player, what controls and like what kind of things that you get to make it easier to navigate. I mean, no one likes the like update install game. No one likes the like, hey, this takes forever. Hey, I can't find my stuff. Where's all these things? Like, I would love to not have 50 accounts.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Email of the week. What do you guys like?
I like the last one.
I do too. It's good. Good.
Is it
news
not from a
discussion.
place far enough away from you?
No, I'm not even looking at the location.
She doesn't know
Everything's
where New
fine.
Hampshire is.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't get me pointed out on the map.
Is it not from Portsmouth?
How dare you? I like this guy. Got us talking about Cyberpunk again. Feel like we got some good info out there.
it's topical.
Yep, the games that were missing at E3 was good. Last of Us was good. I like the engine from Sony question. Do you guys have a favorite?
I kind of like the engine one because I feel like that's the most unique out of all of them.
Yeah,
That we really dove deep into.
you're right. Cork, where you landing?
I like the last one.
You like the last one too.
I like them all.
Oh,
Andy!
Wow. No, I guess if I had to pick one, sure. I mean, there was good questions this week.
Okay, let's go with the last one here.
Okay.
Okay, congratulations. This is Best Bud Noah from New Paris, Pennsylvania. Congratulations.
all right. Where's that on the map,
It's
Hanson?
right up there. We'll get it going off air there.
Right up there.
You're running
All right.
out of room for those red dots right there.
This is going to be fun. Well, international audience, pick it up a little bit. Tell a friend over there in Indonesia. All right, here we go. Moving on to talk about E3 games we missed that we haven't talked about yet on the podcast. So, hey, stay tuned for that. And welcome back to the Game Informer Show. We got the oddballs here for some odds and ends from E3. Mop-up crew, aisle 4, right? Jeff Markiafava?
Sure.
All right, and Ben Reeves
Hey.
and JV Gwaltney.
Here with the D squad.
The freaks. Aisle of misfit toys. The losers. The wannabes. The posers.
I'm not really getting your theme here.
I don't really get it either. okay, what we're here to talk about, things we saw at E3 that we didn't talk about on the main podcast. Seems like number one, as far as I can tell, in terms of hype that I personally have, and I'm sorry to be selfish, but Dying Light 2, we didn't really talk about on the podcast.
Number one game of the show for you.
Well,
Incredible.
no, in terms of like games we didn't cover at all.
Bigger show or bigger games.
Yeah, well, so Dying Light, it's the zombie open world parkour game from Techland, and finally this is the sequel.
Yeah, they did one kind of standalone expansion thing earlier, but this is the big numbered sequel to it.
And it's weird that during the press conference, because they were at the Microsoft stage, must have been, yeah.
think
They
so.
got out there and like focused on story and like how decisions really going to matter in this game, and you can choose to like cut water off from a population, and then the town will evolve and like physically look different. And Chris Avellone was out there pitching it. It is not the pitch I expected for Dying Light 2.
Yeah, and the one kind of negative thing I have to say is that the demo that they gave, after the press conference and whatever, was pretty much the same thing. It went into more detail about that, and it showed a little bit of combat and stuff. But the big gist and the coolest thing about the new game is that, you're making these kind of story decisions, and they are affecting the actual city in a bunch of different ways.
Does it seem interesting? Did you get to play it?
No, it was a
Okay.
hands-off demo. That story stuff does seem interesting to me because, we make decisions all the times in games, and, in the best case scenarios, it just kind of affects the narrative that you're going down. But this is a world where you have these different factions, and there's kind of a balance in the city between them, and the decisions that you're making are supposed to be affecting them, and you actually get to see that reflected in the city.
And somewhere there are zombies too. Who cares? I don't know. I guess.
That's such a weird trend. Like when you think of games that do I'm not saying that Dying Light 2 is part of this yet, but just really interesting narrative stuff that changes games. Like zombies are usually a part of it.
Right.
Like The Walking Dead, The Last of Us. There seems to be
There you
sort of
go.
a trend. Yeah. The games that have shaped games forever. Those two games.
Storytelling masters. Yeah, that's right. Did they show off any of the interesting climbing mechanics, any of the interesting parkour stuff?
Yeah, and they have twice the number of different parkour abilities that you'll have.
Before it was just on one foot, which I thought was a bad decision on their
Now you
part.
got the left one too.
Yeah, very
so.
good, very good.
But yeah, they showed some climbing things. They have now kind of parkour puzzles, which you kind of have to go through the environment, almost like the Far Cry towers, except a little more strategic. Than
Reeves,
that.
you like that? You Mirror's Edge freak?
Well, I was just gonna say, since Mirror's Edge, we didn't get the sequel we wanted. This could be
and
the closest thing to that kind of Mirror's
and
Edge. Scratching that itch.
it did remind me
I know
while I
about
was
scratching some things.
Yes. It did remind me while I was watching it. It reminded me more of Mirror's Edge than it called to mind, the original Dying Light, because now you're kind of hopping across lampposts and sliding under railings, and there are parkour attacks as well, so you can hop
weird.
over something and kick a guy up the side of the building. And
Did you see any of the stupid weaponry? This stupid, amazing weaponry, like that weird electric wrench you could make in the first game?
Oh,
There were
I
some
didn't know about this.
stupid ass weapons in that game.
there was
Electric
they
wrench.
they didn't show anything of that really, but
Still sounds cool.
yeah,
Uh,
I'm sure it will still be there. And the cities, they had a very mathematical breakdown of the cities 4 times larger than
Yes, they did it!
all,
4 times!
all the other Dying Light maps together, which the first game had 2 maps, and then the expansion had a map that was twice the size of those 2 maps, and now
What?
this
Hang
one
on.
is
Hold
4
on.
times the size of all 3 maps.
I've
and-
crunched the numbers. It's fun. It equals fun.
there you go.
Did you hear about Fallout 76's world?
No, why?
It's 4 times larger than Fallout 4.
Oh my God! Wait,
Yeah.
4 times 4.
40?
Numbers. People love numbers, and
That's
if you
right.
see a mountain, you can go there. I'm sure.
Very fun. JV, you seem very excited about Generation Zero.
Yeah, that game's pretty cool. It's being done. Avalanche is having a busy year.
Okay, it's crazy because the last time Just Cause 3 and Mad Max shipped both in 2015. It was like, this is a crazy year for Avalanche. Now Avalanche is at it again with Generation Zero, Rage 2, and Just Cause 4, all in
Yeah.
the same window again. What the hell's going on?
Yeah, no, it was really interesting because when I saw the Generation Zero demo, I realized, because I went to Avalanche to see Rage before E3, and I think I might have spied Generation Zero on a computer screen.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder what game that is. That guy's playing. Is he playing Stalker? Because that's kind of what what we saw Generation Zero reminds me is it's a really odd combination of Left 4 Dead with Stalker, Shadow of Chernobyl.
So wait, there's zombies in it. So it
There are no
must be a
zombies.
Really good.
No
storytelling game?
zombies.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
amazing storytelling. The whole setup is it takes place in the 80s in Sweden. You and your friends, up to 4 people, are teenagers who are coming back from like some midnight camping trip or something. And
Sex camp.
Yeah, sex camp. Exactly. Coming back from sex camp
They got to scratch that
Swedish
itch, you know?
sex camp.
to find that Sweden is desolate, covered in fog, and has been taken over by robots.
Is that different than normal Sweden?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. So your job is to find out what happened, like what caused this sort of H.G. Wells invasion, and 2 to stop it.
Do you get vibes of The Mist with the fog thing?
Not really. Like it's more of like an atmosphere thing. Like you can see their outlines in the distance and stuff, but it's not like you take damage or like it becomes like a viable sort of like hide and seek thing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just more of like a setting thing.
A way for the robot eyes to glow in the distance through the fog.
Yeah, and the robot stuff is really cool because it's not just like, I'm hitting a thing with a hit point. They're kind of like the robots in Horizon Zero Dawn. All of them have different functions tied to parts. So if you shoot one in the leg, it'll stop moving, but its weapons will still work. If you shoot one in its scope, its night vision will be disabled. So you and your friends can set traps and like have, your buddy on the ridge take out the robot scope so it's blind, and then have 2 guys rush it with a shotgun.
And is this an open world then?
Yeah, it is an open world, and you're not tethered to each other. So feasibly, this is what they told us: you could have someone on one end of this version of Sweden, and another player on the other end, and just playing in the same game. And they showed us this during the demo because they came across a small town, and the objective, it was multi-objective quest that they had to beat to like find a bunker beneath the town. And to do that, you had to accomplish I think it was 4 objectives. So they split up. We saw 2 players. The guy that we were watching went to one side of town, and the other guy went to the other side of town. And we could hear him in the distance fighting robots and completing the objective, like the distant pop of guns.
That's cool.
Yeah, and the space feels like something, again, like Stalker or Arma, where it's like very desolate but beautiful, and there's danger, but you're not sure where, and you have to be tactical. Like that's what it conjures.
Is there a story, or is it just taking quests?
No, there is a story. There
Okay.
is a story, but it's part of like the main narrative is like figuring out what happened and like how to stop it, how to stop the invasion.
So it's like a more interesting take on like Wildlands. Like Wildlands with a more interesting setting.
Wildlands?
Yeah, Ghost Recon, that game you
Oh
played a lot.
yeah. Sorry. Yeah. It's sci-fi Wildlands without the bad writing, and even though it like takes place in like the 80s, it's one of those. It's rare to me that like not everything is like splashed with neon. That's really good. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah, but it's also
They
got-
have Rage for that, I guess.
Yeah, Rage stole all their neon. But they also have interesting, goofy mechanics. Like to distract the robots, you can pick up boom boxes and throw them, and the robots will go like investigate the boom box as it plays music.
Do
and
they dance?
No, I'm sorry, but like if they're standing next, so like for example, during our demo, they threw it next to the boom box next to like a fuse box or like an electrical conductor, and then they shot it as the robots got close, and it took all of them out.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so
They
it's
shot the boombox?
yeah, they shot the conductor, the electric box behind the boombox.
Okay.
Yeah,
Huh. Generation Zero.
yeah,
It's coming out next year, or did they give a
yeah.
window
Next
on
year,
it?
2019.
That's
how,
awesome.
How big is the world?
They said it was pretty big. They won't give like exact estimates, but pretty big. It's
What about compared to Dying Light, though?
Right.
probably not nearly that big. I mean, it's 40
that's like
people.
All
All
right.
right.
You know, I'm going to edit this part out of the
We gotta-
podcast. Just the entire section of Resident Evil.
most
What's the
important.
point? What's the
Sorry.
point of playing it? Reeves, you played Super Meat Boy Forever.
That's right.
This is a game that we've been hearing about forever.
Forever.
This is the, how would you describe it? Not quite auto running, but kind of sort of auto running Super Meat Boy.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the one that got everyone mad.
Everybody was very mad.
Wait,
and-
really? Why?
Yeah. So I'm going to say something. I want you to hold on. It's going to be okay. I'm going to take us through procedurally generated. Hold on. It's going to be okay.
no.
That's the thing that got everybody mad, I think, is because they're like, procedurally generated Meat Boy. That sounds so stupid. But after I was playing it, it feels like a real Meat Boy sequel. Like, it feels really good. It like really scratches that itch for like Super Meat Boy. Because every like level is made out of 100 different like segments of Meat Boy like levels, if that makes sense. And each
Okay.
one is like handcrafted. And so each section feels like a real Meat Boy thing. They're just like randomly strung together.
And it's not auto running. You have full controls. It plays like Meat Boy.
No, it is auto running.
Oh, I
so that's
see.
the one part that like because it originally began development as a mobile game.
But it's not anymore.
It's still going to release on mobile, but it's actually coming to all platforms now. So it's
Interesting.
auto running. But honestly, that didn't bug me after a while. Like, kind of used to it. He does have a new move. You can like jump and attack enemies like mid jump.
Okay.
So it's very reminiscent of what was the Rayman game on mobile?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Wild Run,
Yeah.
Jungle Run.
Something
yeah.
like that. It's very reminiscent of that, but it has the Meat Boy sort of flavor where like blood's flying everywhere and like
That sounds good.
you can play as Bandage Girl as you want if you want.
Did you get any sense? Because Tommy from Indie Game the Movie fame, he gave you the demo for it, right?
Yes. Yeah, he's still part of Team Meat, but Edmund is no longer with the company.
Really? Any explanation for what's going on there?
There was some kind of rift between the two.
Which
Yeah.
is weird because they also had that rift a while back with the composer of the original Meat Boy.
Right. Apparently, the team just fell apart. I don't know what they were doing. over
Yeah.
there. Just, but yeah. So Tommy's still with the company. He's the one. He's like the programmer, but he's hired a couple other artists and stuff.
And is it coming out soon?
It's coming out later this year. They didn't give me an exact date. But
Okay.
if you liked Meat Boy, I think you should be excited for this one.
Yeah, Serve Meat Boy Forever. There we go.
Oh, and it's 4 times bigger than Dying Light.
Yes, finally. Jeff, you saw one of the weirdest games at E3 that I haven't heard a single person say a single thing about. Gearbox is making a new game that's not Borderlands 3.
Perfect summarization.
And this isn't Gearbox Publishing. This is like they're developing
this
this.
is Gearbox.
What is it?
It's for now called Project 1v1. I don't know if that's going to be the name of it, but it is a 1 versus 1 multiplayer competitive shooter.
1v1 one.
Interesting.
Okay.
The kind of the biggest and most interesting gimmick of it is that there is a kind of online lobby where people can watch you playing, watch the 1 versus 1 match, but it's also a queue for who comes in next and plays the winner. So it's kind of like the old school arcade, like the winner keeps on playing and other people come and challenge and you can interact in the
And there's like a
stream or
virtual
whatever.
line of people. I'm trying to envision what this actually
Yeah.
looks like.
So this is what Randy Pitchford's been up to.
I know, guys. I want Borderlands 3 as much as everyone
I
else.
saw that on the schedule. I saw like, oh, Gearbox. Jeff was doing with Gearbox, and I think I was talking to Cork. He's like, "Don't worry about it. Don't get excited. It's
Well,
like it's not what you want."
I like the idea. Like I love, maybe just because I'm a fan of like split screen gaming in general and stuff, but I like a good tense 1v1 every once in a while. So it has potential on that concept.
And it is a shooter in the vein of kind of Quake 3 Unreal Tournament,
Oh,
very
okay.
fast.
I'm out.
Kind of scratches that itch of classic
Yeah.
shooters.
It played fine.
Why are you so skeptical?
Because I know that everyone watching is going to sum it up exactly how you did, that they're making a game that's not Borderlands 3.
But is that game's fault?
No, it's not. It's also free to play.
This just gets
and,
better.
And you get card packs, which and the cards are what give you different
Okay.
abilities.
All right, stop. I don't
and
want to hear that
weapons.
anymore.
Is it on Ouya? Like, how could you make this worse? Like,
Guys, it was fun. I enjoyed.
Oh, it was fun. Okay, that's what I'm trying to get at.
I
here.
enjoyed
wait,
the.
so it was 4 times bigger than Dying Light's world?
Yes.
Your
The
itch
maps
was 4
the maps
times
are very
scratcher?
small, actually, because there's only 2
Oh my
people
God.
running around them. It was fun. They still don't know how they're going to monetize it or how exactly the card packs are going to work and stuff like that. It still has a long way to go, considering it. It's still going by a project name. But it's an interesting experiment. But yes, it's not Borderlands 3.
Okay.
Man, I like the idea of a 1v1 game in the sense that I've never seen a proper dueling game from
Right.
the Russian era. That'd be cool to play that, I think.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some indie game.
There's
that
got to be
does
Russian
something like
era?
that, right?
I mean, there's I think of
Like War and
Gunslinger.
Peace and stuff.
Yeah, they
Okay.
call it Juarez, but it's not like multiplayer
Sure.
dueling. Oh, you know what? 1-2 Switch has it. Yeah, that's it.
That's probably the
right.
best implementation
yeah,
of that.
of the dueling game. You're totally right. Sorry, JV. Outer Wilds.
Yeah,
What
this
is
is No
this?
Man's Sky, but good.
From who? What is this? Where's it coming from?
Mobius Digital, I think, is it's another weird ass game that Annapurna Interactive is publishing.
Is it big?
When you say big, what do you mean?
I mean, does it feel like an
Map-sized,
Annapurna game?
Yeah, it feels like 100 times the size of Dying Light 2.
There we go.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get a sense. Is it on the scale of a No Man's Sky?
From what I played, that's a hard thing, right?
I know.
I feel like the illusion is strong
Okay.
enough for it
Great.
because you zoom out, so it takes 10 minutes. And it's very weird. It's such a strange little. it's like if you combined No Man's Sky, but with like the aesthetic, like the banjo Americana aesthetic of like Kentucky Route Zero. It's super weird.
Okay.
So like you spend like the first
Not quite Space Truckers, but close to Space Truckers.
Yeah, Space Truckers is good.
Okay.
Yeah. So you spend the first 10 minutes on like this backwater planet, just like getting your ship ready, and then you blast off, and it's like instantaneous. Like you're not like doing that cool thing in No Man's Sky or Infinite Warfare where you're like breaking through atmosphere.
You don't do that at all?
No.
F
Like
that.
I kind of like that though.
Everybody likes that.
yeah, I know it's cool, but like I'm just saying you don't do it.
Uh-huh.
And then you're in space and you're like exploring, and everything is super complicated. Like even just the most basic actions. I'm making this sound really bad, but it's actually
No.
really good.
Okay.
It's really interesting. Like, you know, you can like send your space camera out from your ship to like go take pictures of stuff. You can land on asteroids, land on planets, bounce around in your suit. When you get damaged, your suit takes cracks and stuff.
Ooh.
Yeah. It's a game of small details.
Okay.
And I think small details are what matters in like a No Man's Sky sort of game. Like that's why I didn't like No Man's Sky that much, was the grinding, and because like there weren't really that many small details. Like
Yeah.
it was just basically like the basic fantasy of, oh, I'm in my starship and I'm exploring the galaxy. And guess what? There's not that much in the galaxy.
Right.
Whereas like there feels like there's just so many nice touches in this game that makes it feel like the spaceship feels like home. And like I want to constantly explore the system and see what's out there. And it's not procedurally generated. It's like a crafted universe.
Really?
Oh, crazy.
Yeah.
Wait, that doesn't even seem possible.
But are
Like-
you just getting points for exploring? Or
There's a
what's the
narrative
loop?
hook.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how that narrative ends, but they did
Okay.
say there's a narrative. But
Huh.
like I'm super into it. Like
There we
I
go.
played like 20 minutes of it. Kato was super into it. Like it looks real good.
what was that called again?
Outer Wilds.
Outer Wilds.
Good luck remembering it.
All
Do you know
right.
if it's coming out this year?
I think it's 2019.
Okay.
I think.
Outer Wilds.
Yeah.
All right. One to remember. Anything else? Highlights of E3 we haven't covered? I played Hitman 2. I was very bad at it. It feels like more Hitman. I think Hitman fans will like it, but I don't know what else there's to say. I sniped a race car driver and it was funny.
Total War was more Total War, and it was good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I played My Friend Pedro.
Oh,
Kind of
yeah.
That looks
crazy
cool.
Devolver Digital. Yeah, it looks cool. I think the controls are a little rough or need some work, but it's like a 2D Max Payne.
It looked a little floaty.
It's also a little floaty. You could use some tiny. It's only one guy though, so it's like impressive just on that level.
Yeah.
There's the coolest thing was there's one level where I was in the basement and there's like two guys above me. I took a frying pan, threw it up in the air, and shot the frying pan, and my bullets ricocheted off that and hit them.
That's very good.
Like there's a lot of cool things like that in that game. Like it could be really fun.
I saw there's a talking banana as well. Is that Pedro?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't as into him, but
Just not that into
I wasn't
you, Pedro.
bananas for that guy.
I
He wasn't
understand.
scratching any itches.
Jeff, and what's one other game you played at E3 but we haven't talked about?
I played the new Tomb Raider, and I did better at the demo than Shay did.
That's
So
all that matters. Did he
Yes.
cry?
Low bar.
Did he talk to you too much about it?
he complained to everyone that it was very confusing what you were supposed to do.
It's
You're wrong.
Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
How do you?
You raid the tombs, Shay. Come down here. March to that
I
door
will-
right now if
That's
you aren't a
right.
coward.
I
You
will
should be
s-
ashamed of yourself.
I will say the high point of that Square Enix conference, outside of that horrendous Quiet Man trailer that Leo lost his mind over,
It's so funny.
was when they took the time during the Tomb Raider trailer to assure us that there would be tombs to raid. Like that was actually the phrase. I was just like, thanks, guys.
Don't you worry.
Also, it was frustrating in their demo. I forget if it was that or Microsoft where they're like, you're going to be exploring some of the series' biggest hubs. It's like, what? Like, all you have to compare it to is the last one. So apparently it's smaller than that. Like, unless I'm not thinking of some Tomb Raider game from the past that has a giant open world or
Those
something.
hubs weren't super small or anything.
No,
It's
they
not
were
like-
good size. Like,
yeah.
that's fine. It's just a
But
weird
also,
framing.
I don't need like bigger hubs in like Tomb Raider.
Right.
Like, I just want fun
Yeah.
gameplay.
I just
Hubba
want more
hubba.
tubes.
Give me some hubs.
Yeah. I want to thank Derek, the intern in the booth, for switching. Derek, there's a control room mic sticker, and you can press the on button to make it glow yellow above that if you have anything important to say. Do you have any corrections for us in this episode?
Nothing exciting. Everything at E3 looked really good.
You have a really good voice, Derek.
It is very good.
yeah.
You should be on
You don't want to look at
You
him.
should play God on the podcast more.
Oh, yeah. Was anything wrong from the first 2/3 of the podcast, Derek? What did we mess up?
I think everything's good. I
Okay.
was on the switching when you guys were wrong about Portsmouth, and I couldn't say anything about it then, but I'm glad somebody corrected you.
There we go.
Great. And everything's fine. Now, is it wrong or right that Dan Tack wears his hat backwards on this podcast? I've been meaning to ask you.
It's wrong that he wears a hat at all.
Yeah, I agree.
It's
Let
a
it
new
flow.
wrinkle.
It is a
very
wrinkle.
strange.
We got to wrap our minds around it. Anyways, that's it for this overall episode of the Game Informer Show podcast. Thank you so much for watching or listening. Be sure to tune in next Thursday. We'll have a new episode waiting for you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.